Oh yes, legends. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. We'll be analyzing the situation here for the price of Bitcoin, getting a little bit of a rollover at the moment. We'll be analyzing to see if we can go to much lower prices. Make sure to absolutely smash up that like button if you do enjoy the content, guys, and let's analyze the situation right away all together. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing fantastic, guys. Let's take a look at the price of Bitcoin. We are currently moving down, testing a crucial level. This level right over here did get a significant bounce. We did hit the naked point of control that we had, and it's also the range point of control of this entire zone. As we can see right over here yesterday, we did slightly got a little quick bounce reaction of the point of control of the range. Now we're coming back down to test it. Do we break it? Do we double bottom? It's a very, very crucial zone, that is for sure. If we do break this zone, eventually we're coming down here to the next level of support, which would be $90,000. As we can see, we've got several highs here at the $90,000 range. That is where we start getting close to the CME gaps, right? Which we do also see the gaps providing that support. Now, of course, this zone, does it bounce? Do we double bottom? That's what we're going to talk about. And double bottom looks interesting in this zone, I have to say. The movement to the downside does look like that it is corrective, okay? This does look more corrective than potentially starting a possible impulsive move to the downside here. So it's going to be interesting on how we move down to the lows here. Because I would be interested in speculating on the reaction for a long setup. Of course, we want to be a little bit cautious. We have been rallying significantly. The momentum has definitely been lost. However, there's a good sign here about this range that does look quite corrective, okay? We'll be going and analyzing throughout this momentum. We do have New York open right now in the next minutes, right? We're just having New York open at the moment. So we might get a little bit of open volatility. We do have also some news in about 30 minutes from now, guys. Okay, there is some news in 30 minutes. We got PMI and also JOLTS job openings, which we might be getting some volatility. So we want to get some stuff ready here on the chart. Let's say hello to the beautiful community. Overall, let me know if you can hear the music. It's too loud. It's too not loud enough. If you can hear me. And we'll say hello to the community right away. What's up, legends? Devil, my man, much love to you. Thanks for joining the stream. Daniel Singleton here also in the comment section. Much love. Paz Maria Vallejos from Barcelona. How are you doing? Much love. Simple 3 Jack. Hey all. Andy, a lot of love. Lots of love to you. Hope you're doing well. Starting well 2026. Let's make this year absolutely awesome, guys. Nice to see everybody here in the comment section. Very first like for of the day, top of the morning to everyone. Much love to BAH. Not going to go through all of that, but much love to you. DDR5. Hello, Andy. Do you think BTC will do an SFP of the last major swing low at 90.8K today and then take out 95? That is a significant move to the upside to bounce all the way up. But yeah, for the moment, this does look corrective, unless the price does start pushing down here very aggressively with high volume, of course. Now, there is a good chance that these lows are going to be taken just because we did form a little bit of a three-wave move here to the upside, not finishing here a proper impulse. Oh, however, we did have three-wave down here. So it does look like that we could form a larger range here. And if that is the case, we just need a little bit of more information to actually be confident that this is corrective, guys. But so far, it's not looking too bad. Not looking too bad for this to be a corrective structure. Yeah, we will be analyzing this. Of course, we need to zoom out on the higher time frame, understanding where we at, guys. We did get a bounce at the point of control. This was a bit of a sniper short, long trade, guys, I have to say, yesterday. As we were rolling over, we'd had no consolidation. We continued moving to the downside. However, when we do take a look at the lower time frames, we did come down to that naked point of control, right, which is from this this consolidation when we do get the fixed volume profile of this range. it's a bit of a sniper trade, right? It's a bit of, I am gonna long as we tap the point of control, and as soon as we get above it, I'm snipering a long position, stop loss beneath the low of the reaction. It's an aggressive long, I have to say, right? When the prices, we're just testing that point of control here as well. Again, second touches are not that attractive, right? When the price is falling, look at this kind of small little V-shaped recovery. And this is why these high volume nodes literally do provide support, right? You got this consolidation from Sunday, getting ultimately a nice little bounce of $2,000 throughout yesterday night. So just by tapping that point of control, which is also the range point of control when we do take a look at the higher time frame, right? It's still this big range point of control where the price is currently trading at the moment. So there is a wall of support here, without a doubt. We saw this yesterday. So yeah, eventually it's looking interesting because the movement down from the highs here at 94.8K is not looking too bearish, I have to say, right? A lot of you may think, if you're looking at the lower time frame, that this momentum to the upside is broken right now, right? We've broken the momentum. It was looking super strong, and it's just looking bearish, right? To come down to fill the CME gap, to also claim that liquidity below $87,000, right? Where there is a lot of liquidity down there, as we can see on the liquidity heat map. But it's not looking too bad, I have to say. It's not looking too bad because this movement down does actually fit in nicely as a correction, and that's what we're going to cover today. We'll be zooming out here on the higher time frame just to go over the different patterns and scenarios. We did end up just testing the highs of the range and getting a pullback of $3,000 right now. I did not get into this short position, I have to say. You know, we're going to look for some new trading opportunities today, of course, right? For anybody that is not in a local trade. So yeah, basically we'll be focusing on this range, and most importantly, where we have the meat and potatoes, is focusing on the 15-minute, maybe the 5-minute time frame to analyze the latest move to the upside, and most importantly, this movement down. Does it look that bearish, or is it looking actually pretty okay for the price to continue in a range and ultimately get that recovery back to the highs? Now, somebody was saying in the comment section, do we test the lows at 90.8K here in the comment section? 90.8K, which would be this low right over here. Even this low is looking interesting for that double bottom, I have to say. Even that low is kind of attractive for that double bottom, I have to say. Wick this low, wick beneath this level over here, and then get the bounce. Of course, that if the price is not going to get the bounce from here, right, which I would class as this as a very, very difficult long, okay, by missing the lows right there. If we do get a significant bounce here throughout the next coming hours, this is a difficult long, just almost taking out the lows here. Not one of those longs that is easy to get, okay? In this heavy downtrend, of course, bounces, you know, could be treated as potential levels to short here. Let's go through the comment section, and then we'll get a few levels and a few trading plans, okay? I have to say this is a difficult area to do anything. I would really prefer to see the sweep of the lows and potentially the sweep of this low. That is where I do see the price potentially, you know, getting a significant reaction. That's a very acceptable scalp setup right there that we do have, which we are very, very close to. So hopefully we do get those lows being taken, and then obviously check the reaction. If we break through, of course, nothing to do. If we get that wick and we start trading above either this pivot low or this pivot low, I would say that a significant bounce is very much possible either from this low or from this low. So it's going to be about taking the action at the reaction, right? I do not want to see the price break through here. If not, we need to take a look at other levels. Beneath us, we do have a naked point of control at $90,000, $90,070 from this range over here. So it's either one of these two pivots. If not, we come down to the naked point of control at 90.7K. If the price gets a significant bounce from here, it's literally back testing that range point of control, right? That we did get a significant bounce yesterday. When you're so close to a low, I have to say it's a difficult long, right? Of course, you would expect that low to either be tested or maybe broken. So it does become a little bit of a risky trade, of course. Let's go through the comment section, see what the people are saying. How are you feeling, guys? Are you feeling bearish? Are you feeling bullish? Let me just get a quick drink of water and we'll obviously continue here with the comment section and get a few things ready. Okay, let's go. Comment section time. It is time, guys. Smash up the like button if you do enjoy the content. Andy the Legend, Ramsey, much love. Zhao Tao, the GOAT, much love to you. My God, I think BTC will finally pump above 1,000K this week. I just opened a new long position. Yeah, I want to be a little bit cautious, of course. You know, we have been pumping quite aggressively. There is good signs about this movement down, guys. This movement down with this three-wave to the downside with this epic bounce is actually a pretty good sign. It's a good sign for this to potentially be some kind of a corrective structure, which we need to kind of map out here, the different possibilities of the correction, of course. We'll talk about the bearish case scenario. Of course, there's always a bearish scenario that we consider, but it's not looking extremely great for the bears to get a big breakdown with this kind of structure to the downside, guys. I have to say it looks pretty damn corrective so far based from the rejection that we had here on Monday. So we'll break that down. Okay, much love to everybody. And CMRP, short baby short, 80K gonna come quick. Let's see, right? Like the stream, meow. Not K Wicker, much love to you. Daniel Singleton, much love. Devil here, the legend himself. In the comment section, smash the like very hard. Have to fix it. Absolute legend here. It will look bad. Give it some time. Ash, much love. It's over for the Bulls and Bears. I'm tired of the situation. Axel was actually quite bullish. I remember your comment saying it's gonna go. It's gonna leave you behind. When we were literally trading beneath the $95,000 range, right? This was just a few days ago. Now, Bitcoin getting a little bit of a squeezy bounce here to the upside. I have to say, not an easy execution for a long position here on Bitcoin when we're just so close in taking out the lows. I have to say, not an easy long, okay? Not an easy long. However, what can we say? It is getting a little bit of a bounce right now. It would be interesting to check here the stock market, what stock market is doing. Stock market is potentially, there's been a little bit of inverse correlation with Bitcoin and the stock market the last few days. I have to say, let's quickly double check here the stock market. Sorry, the index S&P 500, which is getting a bit of a pump right now on New York Open. Man, I would have loved to participate here on some either index or stock market. You know what they say. I'm a little bit worried and concerned about the cash, guys, right? Cash, we know the inflation, it devalues every year. Your purchasing power goes down. And, you know, I'm kind of feeling sorry that I didn't sell more Bitcoin at higher prices. But I just don't feel comfortable holding cash either. You know what I mean? You know, I kind of rather hold assets than holding cash. Of course, it's good to have cash on the sidelines, but everything is just going up. I mean, except for Bitcoin. I mean, I would be happy to reallocate some of that. I'm just happy with my portfolio, guys. You need to be happy and comfortable with your portfolio. And yeah, I'm just I really want to diversify. I've been fully into Bitcoin and crypto since 2018, and you start making some pretty nice gains if you've been early enough in the space with your spot bags. Altcoins is another story. Haven't done that well on altcoins, but on Bitcoin and mainly Bitcoin, Ethereum, done really, really well. And I want to buy other stuff. I've got a bit of. I'm not here to tell you my story, or am I? We want to focus on the chart and the S&P 500. Got a bit of property, got a bit of gold, got cash. Let me know, guys. I kind of want to buy something of stocks. I'm not a stock market guy. I'm basically fully focused on Bitcoin mainly, and been having most of my net worth in Bitcoin. But I kind of want to. I got a bit of property, but overall, I want to buy stocks. I want to buy asset, but I see everything is so overvalued, which, I just don't want to buy, right, at super high levels. But anyway, it's a lot of research. Need to do a lot of research and take a look at companies and different stocks and see what opportunities there is, moving here for the next 5 years. But I just see everything so overpriced. And a lot of people are saying that, met a lot of people. I've heard people that, obviously talking about a recession, obviously talking about a stock market crash. And, I think this is like the crashes on fiat currency. Assets are just going to get pullbacks, but they are going to ultimately go up in value, right? So they're going to correct. They're not going to crash. And it looks like they're going to go up and up and up and up. Because what's really crashing is fiat currency, right? At the end, long term. So, when you hold significant cash, makes you cash is a position. Yeah, cash is king. Everything is overvalued. Cash is king. This is why I'm not buying anything, right? The profits that I did take on spot Bitcoin, is significant, right? I've sold 25%, and I don't hold a couple of Bitcoin. So the thing is, James Wynn liquidated again and again. What happened with James Wynn? I'm kind of not following. Warren Buffett is holding a lot of cash now, isn't he? That is true. That is at least that's a good sign, I guess. But this guy is old. He's old school as well. And the things have changed. That is for sure. The ways assets are just appreciating in value, and we kind of want to crash. We want to crash. We want lower prices to buy stuff, and it seems like Andy is Buffett of YouTube. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing, guys. Anybody that has any experience, or does know any stock, I think, nuclear energy stocks, I think that's very, very interesting for the future. I need to do a little bit of more research, but it's just, I've always been all in on Bitcoin and crypto, and buy a bit of property. Property kind of never fails, but I want to have also other diversification on stocks, but I just don't want to. I see everything really overvalued. Someone saying here, cash is king. I want to say cash is king on a recession, and recessions are very, very sharp, right? The recent recession that we saw was on the C19 crash in 2020. Man, that was quick. Everything crashed, but everything bounced so fast because we had a massive inflation followed the next coming years. Money printer go brrr, right? And trillions of dollars were printed. So I wish that time would happen now, just to buy cheap and have that kind of crash. But I'm not sure if we will get some kind of a crash. Real estate is undervalued. Yeah, this is the thing. I do have a bit of property. Don't want to buy more. But yeah, I think it's just good to hold some cash as well, guys. What can I say? But kind of worried about the inflation. Inflation is if you hold cash for 3-4 years, it's going down 10%. So that's the thing. Roblox looks like a buy. Roblox, something that I'm going to note. So let me just write that down here. Roblox. I'm interested in doing a little bit of research on different stocks just to diversify, guys. You know, I need to diversify, and cash does feel like it's crashing, to be honest. FTSE 100, Nasdaq, S&P are very high, altcoins low, but probably never coming back. Yeah, this is the thing, right? Shall we buy some altcoins? OMG, tube disaster and disaster. We are already in recession. Even the unemployment in Germany is highest in the last 15 years. Crash incoming. I think it's an inflationary crash more than anything, guys. I think this time is kind of different, right? It looks different. It looks different because lots of people are expecting some kind of a, you know, stock crash, right? Or your index crash, and a lot of things coming down, of course, at some point in the next 1 to 2 years. Hopefully that does happen. I'm going to hold on till we potentially see some big downside. If Bitcoin goes down below $80,000, I will be happy to buy some more spot Bitcoin below 80K, if I'm honest with you. I'll start DCAing aggressively if that is the case in the next coming months. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see, legends. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Anyway, let's go through the scenarios. I don't know why I talked about that. It was just today I was doing a little bit of research, looking at a few things, economy and stocks, and just wanted to talk about that a little bit right now. But we are here to focus on Bitcoin and trading and see if we can make some gains trading Bitcoin, of course. Let's get the chart here. Hang on a minute. Let's get the chart here. And see if we can get into a fresh trade. Not interested in a long here, not interested in a short. It would be nice to get the sweep of the lows, guys, but we know Bitcoin's probably reading, you know, our mind right now. I know you are looking at the lows here for a possible SFP, and we are not going to give it to you, right? We are not going to give it to you. So it would be nice. We love those wicks. We love those movements to the downside to sweep some liquidity, some longs that have been entering either here, or here, you know, just get that movement. And so we can look for that trade that we want, which is that beautiful SFP that does succeed a lot of the times, right? Now you might think, why are you liking this potential SFP of the lows, right? Because not every low is a good swing failure pattern. Why are these two pivots interesting for a swing failure pattern, right? Because not every single pivot is interesting for an SFP, right? There has to be a reason. Well, the main reason is how we moved down to this low from here with this significant bounce. I have to say, for this to be something very, very bearish, it would have to be multiple 1-2s, 1-2, 1-2. And here, you know, you're building up still a few 1-2s, and then obviously break down in a third wave. However, this second one is much longer than this wave 1, if this is going to be a wave 1. So this should have been a wave 3, boom, boom, 4 and 5. Then this does look like an impulse. That was not the case. So this is why we're looking at this to be possibly an ABC movement, which eventually can give us a sideways corrective structure, or most aggressive kind of a double zigzag scenario where this is your wave X. You know, you form another zigzag, or this is still forming the wave X, and then you get another zigzag down, and then we get the bounce. Ultimately, continuation aggressively to the downside for me here has lower probability. This is why this zone for a liquidity, short-term liquidity grab and a nice little bounce is something where I would want to position at least for a day trade, regardless if it's going to be, you know, a nice swing trade. It ends up rallying from here nicely, but it's a good zone. Understanding the local structure to the downside that I do see that has lower probability to break down here, right? I don't see a big wave developing at this point based on how we moved to the downside. So anything corrective or anything rangy looks interesting. And of course, we are coming down to the weekly close, previous week close, previous week high. We do have also the point of controls. This one we need to get off the chart already because it has been tapped. We're just literally back testing the range point of control. So it's a pretty solid level, right? When we do take a look at the chart and we zoom out, the price is reacting here. It would be nice to sweep that low at some point because if it does bounce here, $1,000, I have to say it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. I would expect that low to be taken, and I'm going to remain patient to see if the low is going to be taken, just because I like how the price has moved down here, right? We missed it by $100, not even that, maybe $50, right? So close and hitting that low, and it is rare to form a higher low like this and really get some strong bullish momentum, right? If you want to class this as a wave one, wave two, this movement to the upside does not look too impulsive, I have to say. It does look a bit three wavy. And as we're so close and hitting this low, I'm going to remain patient. We might have this on stream, guys, so we'll get ready for this setup. I think it's a very, very valid setup where we could be looking for either an SFP of this low, and if we trade beneath this zone, this is the no trade zone, okay? I would be waiting for this SFP at $90,800 where somebody pointed this out. And the main reason is, why is it looking attractive for a little swing failure pattern? Is purely based on this three wave down and this bounce right over here. Likely to be forming something corrective in this territory. That looks like we do have a good chance to hit $95,000 here in the next coming days. So we're looking at this to be a corrective range with higher probability. Cheeky bounce right now without claiming that low would have been nice. We would just missed it by $50. That would have been a good entry, guys. Like, we love double bottoms, we love double tops, and we just missed the low here. I would say, it's a very, very difficult long here to get in. Because you realize that you're rolling down, and it's very, very common to either sweep this low or this low and then get the bounce, right? So we can get into that trade on the reaction. But let's see, we might come down here later on throughout the stream. We might bounce a little bit further and then come down, right? Overall, no rush. It is a plan. Not too interested in shorts on these little bounces, if I'm honest with you. Okay, so what is more interesting right now is understanding that this has higher probability to be corrective, and that this low looks very attractive to be taken because we almost hit it. That's just it looks like it's a matter of time that we could hit those lows, and a double bottom here would be acceptable. If we break that level, then obviously I'm looking for this higher low right there for the double bottom, and obviously reclaim this zone and just continue a possible larger range here. We might be forming a range throughout the next coming days. That's what I'm looking at the moment. And obviously we want to get into a trade at the lowest price possible, right? I wouldn't be too confident right now on the price. Like long position, stop loss, we heading up to the highs. Wouldn't be too confident on this. It's a little bit too soon, because what we could be forming here is a larger corrective zone. I'm not convinced about this being an impulse and this being the low. Okay, I'm not convinced about this scenario. So it looks like that this could be, either three wave structure. You got your wave X, and right now we either going to form a triangle, or we actually going to form a little bit of a zigzag to the downside, right? Which ends up maybe SFPing from this low later on. But it's looking good. very choppy, very overlappy structure to the downside. It seems like it doesn't have enough power. Bulls are stepping in, okay, making the movement down look weak, which is what we like to see, of course, to ultimately look for that movement to the upside. So far so good. You know, I see a few options here. This could be an A wave, a little bit of a contracting move, so correction, and then a movement down here for a 3-wave. So double zigzag is an option. Zigzag down, correction, zigzag down, and then bounce. Or if the price were to bounce from here significantly, move down, higher low, lower high, we are looking for a possible triangle formation here, which would be bullish in this case, just because the movement down looks very corrective, and would be interested in looking for longs. If that is the case, this could develop, of course, in one to 2 days. A triangle. Most aggressive scenario, just based on the information here, would be a move up and then a move down, looking for a flat here, which would be very confusing, right? Just sweep up the highs of yesterday and get that kind of move back down, a bit of a flat in this scenario. So what we would be looking at here is a zigzag in W, this movement up in wave X. Potentially X's like to be fast in time a lot of the times as well. They can be very long or very short, and this is kind of a scenario that I would be looking at. Ultimately, you know, it's looking good for either this pivot or this pivot for the SFP. So we're gonna have to see the price action, how it develops here. And if it ends up rolling down and breaking down, then eventually there's just no SFP to be taken, right? The SFP only is taken if you react and you get back above. You want a quick squeeze back up from the bulls to step in. And the triangle is another option, okay? If we form some kind of a triangle in this zone, would be interesting, because that's literally consolidating and would be looking for that E wave of the triangle, A, B, C, D, E. And you know, as if we were to get this formation in the next 24 to 48 hours, it would be interesting. There's a bit of volatility. We are downtrending, so it's a matter of being patient still at the moment, looking at this structure. And ultimately the bearish scenario, which breaks down with high volume, is possible. It's not the most beautiful scenario, but we always need to consider a bearish scenario, which is 1 2 1 2, and you have your 1 2s here building up, or maybe this could already be a contracting diagonal. Of course, you could have that bounce here and then break down in a wave 3. So this would be another 1 2 right there, and then break down, but not looking too great. You don't like your second wave 1 to be 1.6 times longer than your first wave 1. So this is why I'm leaning on the possibility that the bearish scenario, almost double the price action, this second wave 1. It's not common. Usually your second, third wave 1s are smaller or similar in size before you get the breakdown. So yeah, not looking fantastic for the bears. This is why these double bottoms are looking actually quite interesting. And these are guidelines, right? These pivots are guidelines. You want the price action to get back above one of those pivots that we might get on stream, okay? So just remaining patient here. This is why there's nothing for me to do in this zone. Shorts, I'm not a fan of shorting these shallow bounces. Moving down at the moment. Looks like it wants to claim those lows. Let's see. Looks like we want to claim those lows. Let's go through the comment section. Aditya, my man, much love to you. Venomion knows, much love. Till US jobs. Oh, we got the news, guys. Yeah. We got news coming in right now, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just refresh this. But supposedly we have had some news coming in right now. So this is lower. Jobs openings lower than expected. lower than expected. Market getting a little bit of a move down right now. Stock markets are probably moving down. PMI is higher than expected, but JOLTS job openings is lower than expected. Let's quickly take a look at the stock market here at the S&P 500 index. Getting a little bit of a move down with JOLTS opening being much lower than expected. Big move down here just by claiming the highs here that we had a bit of an SFP on the stock market. We need to get trading the stock market. Other indices are going to be looking good. I'm really looking potentially to trade more either gold or the S&P 500. Gold can be traded on Bluffin, guys. Bluffin does have gold, okay? It's under the ticker symbol CHOW. Okay? CHOW US dollar tether 4,435 right now. You can trade gold here using USDT, which is absolutely phenomenal, guys. Remember that you do get exclusive bonus with the link down below. Right now you get VIP 1 on the sign up, which decreases your fees significantly, guys, on your sign up. Okay, take advantage here with the bonuses that you get right now. They've changed the bonus to up to 9,400. The more you trade, the more bonuses you're going to get, and also the deposit bonus. If you deposit more than 10K right now, you're getting $1,000 on top of your trading account with Bluffing, guys. Take advantage with that with the first link down below. What platform to trade S&P 500? There's many platforms. If you want to use crypto to trade S&P 500, Bluffin for the moment doesn't have it available, but the one that has it available is BTCC. You have the S&P 500 on BTCC platform, which works absolutely great. You can also trade gold there on BTCC. Bluffin hasn't added the S&P 500 yet, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that. SPX, no, this is the crypto. That's not it. Yeah, ES, it's not under ES. Yeah, Bluffin hasn't added yet the S&P 500 to trade on. I'm mainly focusing more on Bitcoin, but would it be interesting to do a little bit of more ES, because S&Ps work very, very well. Levels of point of controls, and it just works very, very well on the stock market. I've seen the stock market respect a lot of the major pivot highs on a quick rejection. It's very, very good for day trading. S&P 500. So I do have some funds, I think, still that I haven't transferred on BTCC. So we might consider the S&P 500 as well to get into our local possible day trading setups. SFPs, point of controls, Fibonacci. We'll do a little bit of Elliott wave theory as well, and maybe add the S&P 500 for our daily trading scenarios and setups on Monday to Friday here. So yeah, Bitcoin missing on that low. It is really the pivot that I want to wait for. VWAP is coming all the way up here, not being tested for the last few hours. VWAP providing resistance throughout the day. Any quick scalp short? We could consider the VWAP just because we have the local highs of the range. Maybe we could get into a scalp short if we do tap the highs of the range here, which is the fair value gap that we do have from the drop of today. So it's a zone to be cautious, of course. Let's take a look at today's levels. Previous day value area low coming in at slightly higher levels. We were attempting to get supported today on the previous day value area low. That is when we do get the session volume profile here on the chart. Let me just get these pivots out of the way at the moment. So yeah, previous day value area low, where we had a little bit of high volume right there from this consolidation, was holding as support ever so slightly today, right? We got the daily open, getting resistance at the previous day point of control. My goodness, look how nicely respected the volume profile here is throughout today. So literally opening beneath the point of control, then rejecting previous day value area low, wanting to hold, losing previous day value area low, and now we're currently at the point of control of the range where we did get the bounce yesterday. So we are at support eventually. A little bit of a squeezy range here of $1,000 in Bitcoin. So yeah, we can consider shorting the range highs or longing the SFP low, I would say, right? Not a fan here of getting into a long right there when we're so close to a major pivot low. Not my cup of tea here, unless you're quick. You know, I just don't have any levels here really to consider that long. Sometimes Bitcoin likes to be cheeky and form a slightly higher low and get a bigger bounce. They're just difficult longs. We do have some better bullish CVD divergence. That's something that I have to say. So we have had some significant shorts. This is why, you know, there could be some absorption happening at the moment as we are consolidating. Getting a stop and consolidating at this zone is kind of a little bit of a okay sign. For me, it's not enough. Despite that we do have lower lows on the CVD, it's not enough, I have to say. We're also getting some local bearish CVD divergence here on Bybit. So there are longs coming in the chart here right now. A few longs entering in the last 30 minutes, which is, we don't like to see that. We know what happened yesterday when we saw significant longs entering on Bybit. We dumped down. We continued dumping. I'm not sure where it was, but yesterday we were looking at the delta here, and there were some longs entering on Bybit in this zone, 8 million longs, and it's like, not nice. And we did get follow through to the downside in the end. So you don't want to see longs entering the market when you are at support. You want to see shorts trying to break it, and then obviously that's what creates the liquidity to the upside and the trap. So yeah, the fact that we are getting some longs entering here and some slight bearish divs on the CVD is just telling me that, yeah, that low is probably gonna be taken sooner rather than later. So yeah, let's wait for the wick down. Just have to remain patient here. If we do get that bounce, it's just a missed long position. I cannot long here with bearish CVDs. You know, it's so close to this low. We want to see that low being taken, and it's either look for the reaction on this low, long snipe, boom, nice little 2-to-1 risk to reward. We're looking for a day trade. We are downtrending, so it would be more of a day trade little scalp. If it breaks this low, then I'm just targeting this low, guys, and we might get this on stream. So let's see. Just gonna have to wait a little bit here. Trading is all about remaining patient as well, which is the boring part of trading, right? Trading has to be boring. If trading is exciting, you might as well go to the casino. But trading is you need to be patient on trading, and you need to treat it as something very, very, very responsibly, right? We can't play around with trading because we know what happens if you do irresponsible trading. It's so easy to wipe out an account, so easy to fuck up, right, in trading. I've been there, guys. I've done all sorts in my trading career, and I've burnt many accounts. It's just inevitable. Everybody does it. So we just always I'm always very, very careful, right? That's what you need to do. If you want to make gains long term, you just remain patient, get into the best trades, manage risk always. Never go through, risking 20% of your capital, 30%, because, then when stop loss or liquidation is hit, you're losing significant capital, and it's not nice. So when it's small losses, it's like, man, I got 100 bullets here, right? If you're risking 1 to 2%, 50 to 100 trade setups, which eventually lots of them are going to go to your take profit. Lots of them are going to do 2-3 to 1 risk reward, right? So that long term is sustainable, right? What it means, it's going up or down at the end of the day. What it means to it going up or down at the end of the day. I'm not sure what you're talking about here. For the moment, we only have, if we are looking for, this could be a swing long level. I'm looking for a day trade scalp because I know it could do this. But ultimately, I think we got either a long here or either a long here with this SFP. We are downtrending, so we want to be, I'm going to treat it a bit of a scalp, guys. A little bit of a scalperado here on that SFP. If we do get it, of course, now, unless the price is just going to, do this throughout the entire stream. Hopefully not. We're either going to take out the lows or attempt to take out the range highs. And this could break, of course, or I would treat this as a tap of the VWAP. I think a tap of the VWAP is not a bad option here. Just because we have these highs of the range, and we know what the price likes to do as well. When you're forming a little bit of a range, it looks like it's going to pop out, and it just SFPs. VWAP provides resistance, managing risk. If you break above it, of course, and maintain above it, then obviously we look for the movement to higher levels. Previous day value area low did get supported today, so it could act a little bit of resistance. Previous day value area low got supported today just for a little bit, wasn't too successful, but that could act as resistance as well. So yeah, let's wait and see. VWAP is interesting. I like the VWAP. VWAP is respected a lot throughout the day, and just where the VWAP is, VWAP you need to use it as a combination, right, with other confluence. I love the VWAP, session VWAP, that is, when it's in confluence with some range highs, for example, right? That's nice confluence. VWAP and range highs, that's nice for a little scalp, that's for sure. If you do get the SFP, of course. If you break above it, there's no trade to be taken. So yeah, VWAP here is at an interesting level, which is the local highs of this mini range. So yeah, I like the VWAP for a short attempt here, especially if we do not claim the low. If this low is not claimed, that VWAP is very attractive to possibly come down to the lows, but looks like we're not going to get it. So we might get these lows being tested. I want to do higher time frame, legends. However, we just got a nice little area. I'll set some alerts here. We're probably going to take out this low in the next coming minutes, and then we're going to have to see two major pivots that I want the reaction bounce here to the downside, to the upside with the VWAP. Let's see. Vamos a ver. I'm going to go through the comment section. I want to do higher time frame. Stocks index is getting a dumpy action here. Man, that was a good SFP from the highs of last Friday. What a beautiful double top. That was definitely worth a short right there on the stock market, just as we got the news coming out, which jolts jobs coming in quite lower than the forecast, right, than expected, which is S&P 500 is seeing that big pullback just after the news. Beautiful swing failure pattern, double top right there on the S&P 500 just after seeing that bearish news come out, which would have been a brilliant short position to enter here as that news is just coming in. You would have to take the risk because the news came in just after the SFP. So the deal when the news is coming in. Let me just double check here because we've got Bitcoin coming in at the lows at the moment. It's a little bit bearish with the stock market. Let's see if we do get a little bit of a reaction here. We are trading beneath the pivot low at the moment. Usually you want quick reactions here. You want quick reactions. Obviously the S&P 500 is rolling over here for the moment. Bitcoin trading beneath that low. So for me, it's no long at the moment. And I would treat this as a scalp. Would have been nice to get that movement up here to the VWAP, right? And then the movement down, that would have been beautiful. It just wanted to front run those levels. So moving beneath this low, we're trading beneath this low. It does look like it wants to push to maybe claim these lows right over here. We'll see. Right now, as long as we're trading beneath that level, it's not looking interesting for me anyway. Yeah, the problem is the new stock market. Yeah, breaking down with Bitcoin. So, oof, got a bit of high volume coming in here. We got some significant volume increasing here with Bitcoin, which is not making it easy. Making this zone making it respect. So we failed on reclaiming this pivot. This low is kind of interesting right now. Let me just quickly zoom out and see if we do have any fib levels that do look interesting from the last higher low. 50% Fibonacci, which has just been gently tapped right now from this pivot low to the pivot high. Not enough eventually for me to consider that falling knife catch. Swing failure patterns are always the better options. Yeah, would be nice to get that movement. Let me just double check here with anchored VWAPs. Would have been nice to get that bounce to the yeah, this is very, very far away. Very, very far away. These anchored VWAPs from the lows. Yeah, still looking at this potentially to be a corrective move from this movement, okay, from the pivot high here. Still looking okay. I still think that this movement down is not going to succeed to the downside. So major pivots here are very, very important. So let's see if we do get that little bit more of a push down, preferably. If not, it could be a double bottom. So yeah, going to wait patiently. I'm going to set an alert here at the lows. Alert set. No other major pivots of interest here unless we come down to, if we break down this low. So now it's getting a little bit of a bounce. Stock market also getting a little reaction bounce here. Not convinced here just yet. Failed auction. Potential. Yeah, that high is acting a little bit as resistance. Not looking that great. Reclaiming that low could be quite interesting, but that's not the case at the moment. It's always nice, those SFPs. They are just much nicer to be hit for an entry and good risk management. When you do form a little bit of a larger wick and you get back up here, Yes, it's, you know, the stop loss is a problem here for a scalp. A little bit too wide. This would have been the best option for a short, at least for me anyway. We haven't tapped the VWAP in this zone. Would have been nice to consider that move up to sweep up these highs and then come down. That's always the better option, at least for me anyway. Shorting this lower high, yeah. I have a strategy here. I have a strategy here or here, but in this downtrending move, kind of wants to create that failed auction. Kind of wants to from the lows. Stock market rejection on that little bounce. Kind of wants to create the failed auction. I would say I would go not too crazy on this potential bounce. As in capital, okay? But we have swept the lows. It didn't get follow through. We are downtrending, of course, today, so we want to be very much aware of the downtrend. So we're like really a little bit counter trending here for that possible reversal. It's not wanting to fail auction with success here, unfortunately. No buyers stepping in. A lot of selling pressure here coming in on US dollar tether. Some longs coming in here at the lows, which is not that great. We don't want longs entering the market here on this movement down. That is not good for this successful failed auction. So it looks like it's not succeeding with that failed auction. Not succeeding, guys, with the failed auction here. And we've got longs on buy but entering, which is not a good sign. No bueno, no bueno. So I would be looking for the next pivot. Shorting down here for me is not an option. Not an option. Would it be nice to squeeze up to hit that VWAP and those highs with the bounce that we had earlier today to get into that short, but we missed it. We missed the VWAP. So anyway, I got the alert here for the next low. Let's see how the next low. Something that I don't like here very much is the volume that is coming in. Pretty sharp volume here to the downside. Big volume here. Big selling volume on the 15-minute, guys. I do not like that red candle, that is for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, not looking too great. When you form a SFP, you want the price to bounce very successfully. And that is not the case. Not the case. Failed on the failed auction. So that means next low, next levels. These bounces are not enough for a short re-entry. As explained, it would have been nice to get that VWAP. Short. Yeah, no, shorting down here. This is like shorting the momentum to the downside yesterday, right? There is going to be a moment that you're going to get that bounce. You want to short the bounces preferably, right? Shorting the bounces. This was not the greatest. Obviously, I like the sweep of the highs. This would have been an okay short. We did sweep up these highs, right? Sweep up the highs, entry, stop loss. move down. Would have been nice for a triple kind of top in this scenario right there with the VWAP to get that movement down, but we missed it by a couple of $100. Yeah, just over $100 here. Would have been nice to get that sweep of the highs, but we did not. Want to be cautious shorting down here after sweeping lows. Want to be cautious, not interested in shorting down here. Right, of course you can catch a little bit of more momentum, but it's a problem of stop loss. It's like trying to short here this movement down, right? And then you get this V-shaped bounce. It's just not, I don't have any plan to get into a short as we're rolling down. I would rather look for the recovery here above an SFP or hitting a major pivot. Like that range point of control yesterday was a beauty, right? With the naked point of control of this consolidation. So yeah, we don't follow the short on the dump. It's rather much more lucrative to look for the failed auction, failed breakout, and maybe jump into a long here on the recovery instead of shorting, right? Manage risk accordingly. Kind of wants to. Short at 100x SUI. Let's take a look at some altcoins. Why not? SUI, US dollar. What's going on with SUI? Short 100x SUI. Somebody says in the comment section, guys. I'm not sure if I didn't leave it clear here at the beginning of the stream, but this content is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. The information provided is not guaranteed to be accurate or complete. Always conduct your own research before making any financial decision. I love the bearish comment section. Go Bears, go. Mariella is in a short position, or at least shorted yesterday. Still, there we go. Still riding the short from 94.5. Riding the wave to the downside. Here we go. Mariella with that short position on Bitcoin from that SFP, cheeky SFP that we had yesterday from a lower high. Whoops, wrong chart. This is stock market. Still riding that SFP lower high, which is I class this as a difficult entry, but overall the first lower high SFP. Congrats Mariella on that short position, absolutely epic. Or maybe the SFP from the range highs on the higher time frame. I'm not sure which one you did catch, but overall we did also created a test of the high swing failure pattern, right? Which is already down over $4,000 at the moment. So just a test of the highs of the range, kind of too easy, right? This is like too easy to be true. Test the highs of the major range of the last few weeks. Bang, that was it, right? Short position here. It's kind of, this like really bleeds my eyes. I'm like, come on, this is like a too easy of a short. It was late night for me on Monday. I wasn't that interested in this SFP, and it is the one that is succeeding, which is interesting to see. But it was late also for me. I was already in bed here, already sleeping as we did take out those highs on Monday. But interesting. Such an obvious SFP, right? Sometimes if it is too obvious, is it going to work out? Apparently, yes. This one was just really, really nice. We are getting a $3,000 dump, which is not insane. I mean, depending on how much you're risking, but it's an obvious one, right? So we're moving down. Volume is increasing ever so slightly on this movement here, but the selling pressure is not managing to push down for the moment. So we're getting a little bit of a slowdown, at least on the lower time frames here. Kind of wants to fail auction the lows. It's not an SFP because you're not wicking. An SFP is more of a wick. A failed auction is a failed breakout, literally, where you trade beneath the level, but then ultimately you recover, right? So yeah, it could be a failed auction. We're wanting to get above that low here from yesterday, but it's not succeeding. We're getting in this sandwich stage here between this low and this low right over here. There's a bit of a sandwich going on right now in this zone on the lower time frame. And interesting that we haven't got any follow through, so it's looking lucrative here actually. Yeah, but we're still squeezed in. Let's go through the comment section right away. Bro, you're too smart. That's why I turned off my brain and went max short from the highs. Crypto by Mattia, absolute legend. Shorting here from the highs. Absolute legend. Very, very acceptable short, especially when you form that test of the highs. Okay. Now the overall question, I think we're going to do a little bit of higher time frame analysis, guys. But you know, I've got alert set. Let me just set another alert here above the highs, above the recent highs, to see if we do manage to fail auction. Not getting a follow through. Usually when you break down, you want to see follow through, all right, from a pivot. This should be pushing down strongly if it wants to be a possible wave 3 developing, and it's not happening at the moment. So yeah, holding here a little bit. Anyway, going through yeah, shorting the range highs. What can we say? Easiest short ever. Easiest short ever, right? The momentum was very, very bullish. It was true that a lot of people were becoming very, very bullish. We saw, you know, Axel saying the Bitcoin's going to leave without you. It's going to go to 100K, right? And the sentiment here was getting pretty damn interesting with the bullishness, right? As we were moving higher into the range highs, and it just tested the highs of the range and got the SFP, right? What can we say? The easiest short that you could imagine on Bitcoin here, testing the highs of the range. Long now, Axel wanting to get above that low. It wants to. Will it manage to trade even just a little bit above that low? Bit of a catching knife situation. Are we being supported by the CME gap? No, CME gap is still not hit, if I'm not mistaken. So alerts are up here. We're trying to get that momentum to the upside, trying to get back above those lows. Anyway, let's take a look at the CME gap. We're getting supported by the top of the... Oh, this is interesting. Yesterday's drop got supported by the top of the gap. There we go. Yeah. We got the gap right there. We're getting supported still by the gap. What an interesting long position. Anybody that was awake or still watching the price action here to the downside after the stream, where the price literally bounced at the naked point of control and the range point of control, most importantly, guys. I mean, these levels, this is where you add confluence, right? You need to have extra confluence at certain levels. If you have the range point of control with the futures gap high, because the gap provides support, the top of the gap provides support, and filling the gap also provides support as well. Both of the pivots, right? Regardless if you fill the gap today or tomorrow or next week, it doesn't matter gaps are resistance and support. Top and lows are resistance and support of the gap. Beautiful tap of the top of the gap yesterday with the range point of control. You're getting a nice little bounce of $2,000. So that was interesting. That was interesting overall. That beautiful reaction on the falling knife that we had. If you have that extra confluence, if you add point of control or naked point of control or range point of control, plus the gap in this case, which you're adding as confluence, top of the gap or fill the gap, it's obviously a very, very interesting, interesting support. Now, what I would want to see, of course, is the low of the gap. Yeah, the low of the gap could be very, very interesting here. Let's just flip to the 1 hourly time frame. Is also coming down with a naked point of control. That is very, very interesting level, guys, of support for a instant reaction bounce. So this area for me, so yeah, as we can see, the gap, yeah, it's just literally right over there where we have this naked point of control. So filling the gap, this is a bit of a sniper trade, guys. The gap fill is exactly where we also have a naked point of control here at 90,700. That's from this range right over here, basically. So this range point of control, is literally where we have the CME gap filling right there. It's maybe a little bit lower, But as you can see, top of the gap with this naked point of control from Sunday, big reaction bounce. The big reaction bounce. Now the lower part of the gap is coming in also where we do have that little range point of control, of course. Interesting. And filling the gap does provide support. So it is a long setup, without a doubt. There is a long setup here. But are you ready? Are you prepared to take these trades, right? Are you ready to catch a reaction of a falling knife and understand how to manage risk? So the only way that you can execute this trade, right? If we're looking at the strategy here of the top of the gap got a reaction and it got a nice little bounce for a scalp to scratch some dollars off the market. If you have extra confluence, such as this naked point of control that we had from Sunday's price action, the only way, if I'm in front of the chart, that I can trade this long position is if we do get beneath the level and then get back above the level so I can long and I can have a stop loss beneath the low. It's like the only way that I can catch these falling knives. If I have a level ready, we tap it, and as soon as we get the price action getting above it, I can long and I can put a stop loss. And once we ride it, we're making a 2-to-1 risk reward already. I want to, protect position and consider, locking in that 2-3-to-1 risk to reward, right? So that is a very, very interesting level that we do have here, where we can scratch some dollars if the price were to come down. Now we are creating that failed auction from the low at the moment, so at least it's attempting to do so. It is attempting to do so. Still very soon, of course, this could turn into an hourly wick, and then next candle is getting a little bit of a bounce. Okay, still here we do have still 18 minutes for this hour candle to be closed. That would be an interesting hourly close here with a wick. Next hour could be a little bit of a bounce. Okay, so it's not looking too bad here for this failed auction. Still have 18 minutes for this candle that could end up closing down here, right? So still a little bit soon, but not looking too bad. So that's a very, very interesting level that we do have down here, guys, at the $90,000, which is filling the gap. And top of the gaps or filling the gaps, regardless if we fill them today or tomorrow or next week, with extra confluence. In this case, we had a naked point of control where we got the bounce yesterday. There is also a point of control in this region after filling the gap. So I like it. It's an aggressive long, but the way how I would treat it is very similar to this one that we had yesterday, where we are looking for that level to be hit. And as soon as the price, and the stronger the move to the downside, the better for the reaction bounce. So the stronger the move down, whenever it decides to move down to this level, the better it is to kind of catch that, V-shaped move, regardless if it's another lower high or not. But it's just a good level by filling the gap just at 90K when we do take a look at the futures charts, okay, such as, well, spot, Coinbase, Bybit, because there is a difference. I'm not sure if you noticed, guys, on BTC futures CME, we do have price at 91,500, and on spot and futures, it's actually at 91,200 at the moment. So there's a few $100s here of a difference. I'm sorry, Andy, I'm a perma-bull. I am a perma-bull. I hate bears. And I love your WXY Elliott wave. Axel, much love to you. Much love to you. Liquidity sweep. Yes, it is. BTC has a habit of making a 3-drive pattern. That's interesting. Just check the 4-hourly chart, 3-day chart, and you'll see. Let's take a look at this awesome comment. 3-drive pattern. We love 3-drive patterns. We love harmonics, 3 drives. Let's take a look at that here from this legend in the comment section. Let's just clear up the chart at the moment and go through that. 1 hourly candle close here would be interesting for this wick, but yeah, this candle close could follow through from the lows. Let's take a look at the 4-hourly chart. We're going to do a little bit of TA and demand. Do we see that 4 drives pattern? Anyway, interesting point of control with the Fiat CME gap fill, guys. It's only $1,200 away. I'm interested in longs more here. Don't want to jump into a short, but we're not failed auction from the lows. So we don't want to. 1 hourly close above this level could be interesting for a bounce later on, which is going to be interesting if we close that 1 hourly as a possible fake out of the lows. So let's see, we just still have 40 minutes here, and it could be interesting for a bounce if we close that candlestick beneath this wick low, above this wick low, sorry. But yeah, we're not too far away of that CME gap fill. A very, very interesting long trade right there. I think you have to treat it as explained. Reaction, long, stop loss at the low. You need a low for a stop loss, because if you don't have a low, then where's my stop loss? It's continuing to break it, right? It needs the reaction at the levels. If not, you can't execute the trade to put a stop loss, right? You can execute the trade, but the problem is the stop loss, right? If you're just catching a falling knife, you're like, right? I've done that before, been there, done that. Doesn't work too well a lot of the times, right? Catching the falling knife, price goes against you, like, whoa, not a strategy, not trading like that. So lessons learned. Let's go through the 4-hourly time frame and smash up the like button as we go through the 4-hourly time frame. Let's do a little bit of a like recount and see how many likes we're going to have. 176? No way, guys. We're going to do the 4-hourly time frame right now, and we're going to talk about that 3 drives pattern. Somebody was saying this in the comment section. Is that to the upside or to the downside? 3 drives pattern. Baby Genius, absolute legend. Nice to see you around, my man. Baby Genius also joins Alex O Crypto. I've seen you in the comment section there. I love Alex. He's a great guy. Great guy. Seems like everyone expecting 100k. This would be perfect place to reject or trap scenario. 4 hour 50% retracement around 88k, then daily order block. Anyway, I've missed out on that 3-day chart, and you'll see. Just check the 4-hour chart, 3-day chart, and you'll see. 4-hour chart and then 3-day chart. Yeah, which one? And is it to the upside or to the downside? Anyway, we'll have to need a little bit more of explanation, guys. I'm not that smart with these comment sections. Okay, if you're talking in code, you need to tell me, you know, from this day, from that day, this time frame, from this low to that low, and then we can figure out something. Trading is like watching paint dry. Okay, Andy Senor, I'm referencing USDT dominance and all variables, US equities, CBD, open interest, ETF, but I can't help the upside liquidity above from yesterday's highs. I thoroughly agree with the 3 drives. 3 drives? Yeah, 3 drives, is that on the higher time frame? Somebody was saying here, the 3-day time frame? Drive. I mean, are you talking about this higher time frame 3-drive pattern? Or you also mentioned the 4-hourly. I don't see a 3-drive pattern here on the 4-hourly time frame. Give me a little bit of guidance. I'm not sure which one. The 4-hourly one is a local from the last move. Local move. Okay. On the 4-hourly, on the local move, as in this movement, not sure if I see a 3-drive pattern here on this local move. Is this the move that you're talking about? The local one from the last week, right? 3-drive pattern, 3 drives. Obviously, if it's been locally, it has to be to the upside. I'm not sure if I see a solid 3-drive pattern here on the 4-hourly. It would have to be lower time frame, and not to the downside. But anyway, interesting. Just can't find it. Chilawata, amazing work. If people watch 10 of your videos, they would have enough education to make loads of dollars. Appreciate your education, and always going live for us means the world, brother. Man, thank you very much. Chilawata, super nice comment. Yeah, we always like, as we're waiting for major pivots or major zones to be hit, we are getting that failed auction a little bit right now. Still got 9 minutes, so that 1-hour candle is turning a little bit into a little bit of a wick here. It is wanting to anyway. That's also one thing. The movement down does look pretty corrective. I know there's a lot of people that are watching the CME gap. Top of the gap or filling the gap provides support. So the top of the gap for the moment is holding. And we know that a lot of people like CME gaps and they like them being filled. And they will short the hell out of Bitcoin till it is filled, right? So, which eventually, you know, it could happen, but you know, we've seen many gaps not being filled as well, right? There's many gaps that are not filled, and we know that the top of the gap or the lower of the gap, 97% of the gaps are filled, of course. But yeah, anyway, I think the gap fill is an awesome long. That is for sure. This one would have been a very, very interesting long yesterday, as we were hitting the point of control of this range as well from Sunday. What a perfect touch. It is aggressive. It is not easy. I mean, you have literally a minute or less than a minute to decide to get into that trade. It's very, very quick. You tap the level. You literally have less than a minute if you want a good entry, because then, you know, longing all the way up here on the bounce is just not what you want to do, right? So eventually that fill of the gap, which is coming down at 90k on the spot exchanges or futures exchanges on Bybit, you know, gap is literally where we have this point of control. So it is definitely one of those interesting longs to get at least scratch some dollars, guys, right? We ain't talking about going to 100k. We're talking about, you know, getting a bounce at least to this level that's provided support, resistance and support. You know, it's just a bounce, right? Level to level, staircase down, boom, boom, boom. You know, it's just a good level to consider that long after filling the gap, just to get a little bounce, guys. At least to the level, at least to the top of the gap. There is a long setup here. It's a movement of 1,200 or so, right? Not massive, but it's a very, very acceptable long position on the reaction of that naked point of control here as well. Much better, kind of better than this one. This one is like, yeah, you know, are we forming the failed auction? Not much buying pressure coming in right now. We've got some longs entering the market, which is not what I want to see. 2 million, 1 million. Not that beautiful to see longs. It's nicer to see shorts at support, really, for that bounce. This is eventually creating some big bearish CVD divergence, so it's not looking too great for the failed auction at the moment. We can see some insane higher highs on Bybit US dollar tether. Big bearish CVD divergence, guys. It seems like that the failed auction is not going to be the one at the moment here. We do not want to see a huge amount of longs entering like this. Look at this. Big higher highs, lower highs on lower highs on price action, higher highs on CVD. Not what you want to see. Not what you want to see. Too many eyes, too many people wanting to long this double bottom, which it doesn't make it great. It doesn't make it a great level. So, Andy, what leverage do you use? It depends. I use 25, 20, 30. If I'm feeling aggressive, I might use 50. It doesn't really matter. I usually use 25 leverage, just because I have my calculations already at a 20x leverage. 25 is my average here on leverage. Okay. Yeah, 20x leverage is usually what I use, because the thing about leverage, it's only a tool. You need to calculate based on your available balance, right? On what you have in your capital, basically. Leverage, it doesn't matter if you use 10x or 50x. It doesn't really matter, because what you're calculating is your balance, basically, your trading capital. Because you can go in with 50% of your capital and only use a 5x leverage, and or you can use 100x leverage and you're using 1% of your capital, right? Or 0.5% of your capital. It doesn't really matter. I usually am in between 20x and 25x, because I've already done my calculations on my risk management based on that leverage. It's super important for the people to do that as well. have a fixed leverage. So it's easy to calculate that 1-2% of your risk tolerance of your trading capital, right? I know a lot of people don't want to risk 1-2%, and they like risking, a little bit more. I would say cap it at 5% max, guys. I'm a fan of saying 3% maximum. I never risk more than 3% of my trading capital. Okay. So it's easier to have a fixed leverage, because then you already know the calculations on how much percentage you're using, right, of your capital. If you start changing your leverage to 50x to 10x to 100x, right, and then you get the deal, right? It also depends on where is stop loss. And that is true. If I'm looking for either a bigger swing or a scalp, then obviously the stop loss is usually a little bit higher on a swing trade. The targets are also higher as well, so I usually decrease a little bit of capital on a swing trade. I have a fixed position size with max leverage. Fixed position size with max leverage. That is also good. So you're a Degen Invicta. That is also good. Yeah, that's awesome. Fixed position size with the leverage, with max leverage. Yeah, absolute legend. On RSI, there is some bullish divergence, says Zhao Tao. On the RSI, we do have some bullish divergence. That's the problem is what RSI, right? I remember when I used to use the RSI for divergence. I actually got a cheat sheet here, right? I think a lot of you must know about this cheat sheet. Man, it's been a long time. I've got a folder here with all of this stuff about trading. This is not the cheat sheet, right? Regular divergence, hidden divergence, exaggerated divergence with the RSI right there. Just a nice little... I remember when I used to use this in my first couple of years of trading. But for me, I started just focusing more on price action, Elliott wave theory, and very good levels of confluence. Fibonacci is great. I used to use MACD. I even knew order flow and not money flow. Order flow is good to see if there is any trap traders, of course, at lows or highs, and it does help on the SFPs. But RSI and MACD and all of these different ones, for me, it just created a bit of too much noise. It was just too noisy for me for the trading decisions. So I kind of ditched it. For me, it wasn't helping me. It was just making me a little bit more confused. So, I mean, it all depends on. It's very, very personal, right? It doesn't mean if it doesn't work for me, it can definitely work for you. The bears haven't finished business in the 86k zone. Ash says that is where we have the liquidity, right? That is where we have most of the liquidity, right? When we do take a look at the heat map, that 87, 86k zone is definitely where we have that massive big, liquidity pocket, which is eventually looking interesting. Obviously, with this liquidity still up. But yeah, there's lots of long liquidations for sure to the downside. Let's go through the comment section. I wanted to cover a little bit of the higher time frame. Man, this... It kind of wants to create this failed auction. We did have that 1 hourly candle close above this pivot low. Kind of acceptable. Kind of acceptable for an attempt. This is still support. It is still support. We didn't manage to create that. Of course, this could be a bounce and a lower high. That is the problem. The problem here is the longs entering the market. The bearish CVD divergence. That is a major issue here. So even though we got that 1 hour candle close above the low for a failed auction, the longs entering here on Bybit US dollar tether is a little bit terrible. Too many longs entering here, which is not making this double bottom too attractive. The bearish CVDs are not making this. Look at the amount of longs that are entering here. It's absolute insane. Not nice. Not the nicest double bottoms when you have so many longs entering down here. There's no bueno, no good. You want shorts, right? You want people FOMOing into shorts down here so we can actually get that squeeze bounce, but it's not the case. Oh, Fib Dancers, Mark Dutch is here, the legend himself. Much love to you, brother. Thanks for joining the stream and smashing up the like. Mark Dutch is one of the OG guys in crypto and OG moderators. Much love to you, my man. SP fully recovered, crypto worst asset in history. Yeah. I know. I'm also pissed off on some altcoins. I have to say, I'm also quite pissed off on some altcoins. You're not the only one, okay? I've also lost their unrealized losses, but I can talk about a few of them. I can talk about a few of them actually. Cadena, I had some Cadena, guys. We can talk about that one, right? Shall we make this one of those lame live streams where we talk about, you know, your crypto portfolio, which is your worst performing crypto? And I know a lot of people would say, I didn't even sell this, guys. I think I lost about $10,000 or so. I don't even know, but something like that. It wasn't a massive percentage of the portfolio, less than 1%, that is for sure. But I remember getting a message not long ago. This was back in October, right? Saying that Cadena imploded basically, and I didn't even sell when the price was literally coming down here in this zone. I was like, that's that. You know, I'm already down. I'm not sure that I was already down about, what can I say, 70-80%. Yeah, most of the Cadena was bought here. I still have the chart, guys. This was a brutal one because this did actually go. I think this was it's one of those cryptos that went to almost $50,000 in profit or something. Because I bought here, it did do almost a 4-5x, almost. And this was actually a level that I was gonna, sell 50% of the holdings. We just missed it by a few cents of taking out that high. I lost on this one, guys. I lost, and then obviously it imploded. So imagine buying here, having your take profit here, and you see it how it goes up in value, and then literally goes to zero. You're not the only one, guys. I have whoever in this crypto space, any out there on YouTube, everybody's lost in crypto, I think, in this cycle. There's been a few that have actually managed to scratch some. I still have, obviously, the bigger portfolio sizes such as Ethereum and Chainlink are still in the profit, and they're offsetting these small percentages for me. But I lost on Cadena. I lost on Umbrella. People will know about Umbrella. But this is like, this was less than 1% of my portfolio on these different altcoins. I had about 20% of my portfolio diversified on 2025 altcoins, and some of them are down but not that much. Some of them imploded. Umbrella, Cadena, not sure which one more. I think that's about it of cryptos that imploded this cycle anyway. Umbrella is one of them, and Cadena is one of them. This is like completely lost. We need to talk about it, right? We can't talk only about, you know, the gains of the crypto portfolio. Bitcoin's great. Ethereum's okay. Did okay, not massively. Bitcoin did better. Let's talk about the ones that we lost as well, guys. It's not all, you know, rainbow and sunshine, right? Anyway. Rug pull type beat. Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Imagine telling your kids, I lost on Umbrella and Cadena. The good thing, it's just a little scratch, right? It's those little hits that you just take when you play around with altcoins, you know, find out, right? Play around and find out. And I did find out on a couple of altcoins. This is what you get, right? I got sold the massive potential. The thing is, this cycle, imagine telling your wife you have to sell the house because of Altcoin. Yeah, Altcoin was another one. I think that one has gone down the toilet, right, as well. Most of the altcoins have gone down the toilet, right? Even when you do take a look at, you know, the biggest ones as well. Polkadot has been absolutely terrible, right? And there is so much conviction about Polkadot. And I mean, yeah, after it's literally trading at the lows of the flash crash that we had on October. It's low. And I remember Polkadot did have a lot of hype, not only this cycle, in the previous cycle. Nothing to do with the previous cycle, guys. I have to say the previous cycle in 2020 and 2021 was life-changing. That's where basically crypto did change my life. And you know, I opened a YouTube channel in mid 2020 or late August, and this was just as everything was pumping, and you know, bags were bought already, of course. And yeah. This cycle has not been as we expected, right, on the altcoins. What can we say? I think all of us have been caught on some altcoins, holding some bags, right? But this is why Bitcoin has to be the number one of your portfolio. There's no secret. Always being in favor of most of your holdings being in Bitcoin. Anyway, let's go through the comment section right away. CME gap. Kind of wanting to fail auction here, but it's just not that great, guys. I have to say, with these bearish CBD divergence, it's not the greatest. It just tested the lows and now we're dancing. Volatility is not coming throughout New York Open. We'll probably have to start doing live streams midnight, because that's where the volatility happens. China stock market open, or you know, midnight. I don't know not sure what market's opening here, but I have realized that we have interesting moves happening when it's basically midnight here in the UAE. Mark Dutch. She told me something else. It's been 4 years I'm watching your YouTube, Andy. Don't know when we'll meet your face to face. Arvin, my man, much love to you. I think we have to definitely do a gathering somewhere. We definitely need to do a gathering for sure. I do know that a lot of people are in the UAE as well, in Dubai. So I wouldn't mind to do a gathering here if we do create that group on the Telegram. And do a gathering for sure. Baby Genius, when done properly like this, I think it's healthy to discuss the downsides that occurred. A very few, but so many. The real world don't get this. Not even in world US equities, options, etc. Andy, I opened a long at 92k. You opened a long at 92k. Oof. Yeah, this oh my goodness, you know, this is the thing. You might be okay. I'm not sure if you want any help on that long position. So you opened a long at 92k. When I'm not sure if you opened here or here. I'm not sure where you opened that long position, but preferably we look for some lows being swept, just because you can manage risk much better. If you open that long at 92k and you see you're telling me in the comment section, I think it's because you're still in that trade and you want some bullish news here. The good thing about this movement to the downside, I mean, preferably you want to get into longs on some swing failure patterns, failed auctions, where you can manage risk a little bit more. I'm not sure where your stop loss is here. If you longed at 92k and you're still in the trade, I'm not sure where your stop loss is. You're hoping for a reversal. Right? Much better to attempt a failed auction, keep losses relatively tight, look for a nice recovery, sweep the highs, right? Have a bit of a risk to reward management. Much better to get into the SFP. If you longed, or the failed auction, but if you longed somewhere in this area, I'm not sure if you're targeting this 95k highs as a swing trade. You probably don't have a proper stop. I'm not sure where your stop is, but when, as explained at the beginning of the stream, with this movement to the downside and this movement to the upside, there was a high probability to claim this low over here. We came up to hit, we hit the 0.8 Fibonacci, 0.88. We also formed a very, very three-wavy structure. So if this is going to be an impulse to the upside from this pivot low, you're literally doing this, and then the big move happens here. If you want some kind of an impulsive structure to the upside for this correction to be a buying opportunity, right? You want to finish an impulse. You want to have a solid impulse here. Just at the beginning of the stream, we were talking about the high probability of taking out this low. You know, just a higher probability based on this movement up, hitting the 0.88 Fibonacci. Preferably, we want to try and attempt some swing failure patterns, either failed auction or this pivot low, just so we can have a better entry and much better risk management. Right, maybe attempting to sweep up the highs. It might form a lower high, come and reject at the VWAP, but it's already giving you a better risk to reward, basically, and better risk management, right? I'm not sure. Maybe you had another plan. Maybe you tap the VWAP here and it does reject after getting this, you know, a little bit of a failed auction. But yeah, I'm not sure why, you know, when people say this in the comment section, you know, I've longed at 92k. So you either longed this falling knife or you longed the bounce here somewhere. When I analyze the structure, if this is the most important bounce that I need to analyze, if I believe that a higher low is possible here. And this was very, very three-wavy. The third wave, right, finished here, and we formed a lower high. We went down. So that's not looking great for an impulse to form a higher low here and move higher, especially when you retrace so deep. When you retrace so deep, despite getting the bounces, I'm like not interested. I would rather see the sweep of the lows, be patient. If it leaves without me, it leaves without me in this range. But much better to attempt a failed auction either from this pivot or this pivot, just because the risk management is so much well performed here on these setups. So yeah, anyway, it does look pretty okay to continue the range and actually get a bounce here. Because from yesterday's highs, three-wave down, big bounce, And for this to be a multiple 1-2, it's not looking too great for the bears, if I'm honest with you, to get an absolute nuke down. Lots of people expecting the CME gap to be filled. Lots of people already saying, you know, we've broken the structure. We're going lower, right? However, this movement down does look very, very corrective. There's lots of overlap, not solid for an impulse. So there is chances here to get bounces and continue a range. But yeah, not a great entry. I would rather be stopped out than hoping that we are going to get the bounce or hoping that we are going to range. If you entered at 92k, not a long that I would have entered anyway. I parked my beer outside last night. It's covered in 50 centimeters snow right now. Talking about drama. Mark Dutch, much love to you, my man. Hope you're doing absolutely. We'll meet in Mallorca. Andy, Dubai is too many camels. Very true, brother. Mark Dutch, much love to you. We had Mariella here on the stream earlier. Oh, she's here, right? She's still here? She was here on the stream. Mariella was around. I'm American Iranian. I do good Arabic for a visit. Absolutely awesome. The impulse was due to MSTR not being delisted. It was a news event. I opened at 91,078, says Grassicuna. Ooh. Yeah, literally expecting that failed auction, right? I would be a little bit defensive. Of course, acceptable speculation on a double bottom, but the main reason why it's not looking too great is because of bearish CVDs, right? We got longs entering here like crazy. 5 million longs entering right now on Bybit. What the heck? People trying to be smart, right? Like us, to catch the lows. And people are longing down here, guys. There's longs piling up here, which is never great. Never great. Of course, it's not it's not 100% accurate, right? That divergence play out 100% of the times, but it just doesn't help for the recovery, right? When we do take a look at the divergence, lots of longs entering here on the movement. It's like lower highs on CVD, on price action, sorry, higher highs on the CVD. Not good. Not good to see a bunch of longs entering here. It's never good at the lows. It just shows the potential of testing the lows again. So, no bueno. I meant I do a good Arabic accent for a quick visit. Oh, okay. That came out so badly. I will stop voice texting now. Baby genius, much love. I dated an Iranian woman. They're special, says Mark Dutch. Is it an ABC correction in the 1 hourly time frame? Is it a ABC correction on the 1 hourly time frame? Yeah, I have to say I am a fan of looking at this as a corrective move to the downside. Okay, which price could test the lows. It could fill the gap. I am very much interested in longing here. One of these major SFPs, either this high or low right there, maybe gets a drop of $1,000, fills the gap. That's if we lose these lows. That's if we do lose these lows. But it's much better, you know, longing here these SFPs than longing a potential higher low right there, right? Which someone said in the comment section, just not the greatest. Much better to sweep a low and attempt a long, just because risk management is much better to handle, right? Andy, marathon till midnight. I have to say, at least another 2, maybe not 2 hours, but 1.5 hours, maybe. another extra hour and a half, that is for sure. Mark Dutch, man, some of these comments, this is like old school. I remember there was many comments in the past in basically the history of my YouTube channel, right, which is since 2020. Mark Dutch was also one of the first joining on my YouTube channel back in 2020. It was funny, man. We had some insane comments and some great times. Let's bring those times back again in 2026. I just longed on gold. Gold. Let's take a look at gold right away. What's going on gold? We do have kind of, Bitcoin wants to SFP from this, failed auction. Low right there. Divergence are not looking too great, but it's never 100% accurate. Nothing is 100% accurate on any indicator or any waves or anything, right? Trading is never 100% accurate. You can have probabilities and, risk management. Risk management is what's the name of the game when we talk about trading. But yeah, Bitcoin wants to just long gold. Gold looks actually pretty nice. Gold looks pretty insane. Oof. So you just long gold. So I guess you're a breakout trader. It is breaking out here. You can trade gold on Bluffin, Legends. Bluffin does have gold as well. Anybody that's interested. In trading gold on Bluffin, they do have it. They do have gold on Bluffin, Legends. If you treating this as a swing, not a bad, I'm not a breakout trader myself. I've seen too many fake outs. Not the best trades that I like to get in, but it kind of wants to. I don't trust these breakouts. It's just like getting into this trend breakout right over here, right? So you got lower highs, right? There we go. That's a nice one, right? Imagine. It's just, for me, it's not the way. I couldn't figure out a solid way. We can combine trend lines if you have, a very, very corrective structure, combining Elliott wave theory, which we could analyze this movement down. But it's just like analyzing this price action right there, where you have the breakout, right, of the trend, and you're like, okay, I am going to, look for that long entry, of course, in this zone, because we are, breaking the trend, right? I'm targeting the highs, and then this happens, of course, right? So, we've been there, right? We've been there. We've done that. We've done that, and so a little bit of the plan here, right? It's like we're breaking out. Okay, so I guess the long, we need to have a stop loss. We can't afford to not have a stop loss. To keep it a little bit realistic, even a little bit tighter. I wouldn't, if you come back down very aggressively, it's just going to take you out, right? But I guess the game plan here would be targeting the highs. Supposedly the lows, just in case you get a bit of a wiki pull back down here. But yeah, just not a fan of these breakout trades unless we have a big support here. I would have rather look for the SFPs, right? I rather look for SFPs from major pivot higher lows. I mean, look at this. Look at the entry that this gives you and the risk management. It's insane. There's just no color. It's just it's completely different. You can be very defensive. The losses that are you get on the SFP attempts are just so small, guys. It's insane. I love SFPs. They're just great for risk management. It's just the best strategy that there is for risk management. Swing failure patterns, failed auctions. They're just so good. breakout trades can be a little bit tricky unless you have a very, very good reason that this would be an ABC right there. Could be where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 wave up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC. Would have to do a little bit more higher time frame here on gold, but SFPs are, without a doubt, the name of the game here. If you really want to manage risk, it just gives you such local double bottoms on SFPs as well are so common, right? This is why we talk about also. I would be interested in a local double bottom here again if we did not success on our first SFP, right? And that's the one that sweeps the highs and maybe gets continuation to the upside. So take them into considerations, right? Or major pivot lows, major pivot highs. It is true that not every single pivot low or pivot high is a great SFP, right? Vegas is like Dubai, guys. Let's get some likes here in the on the stream, and I'll go round the table to see how many likes we do. Let's see if we can get to 300 likes, and then we'll focus on Bitcoin on the higher time frame. Bitcoin a little bit slow, unfortunately, on New York Open. We did get a dump, then a little pump. Nothing too major, nothing extremely interesting. Stock market. The S&P 500 got a major bounce to backtest the SFP level. Major bounce here after the news, and getting a little bit of an SF backtest of the highs. Let's see if we do get the chart loading here, if it wants to. Kind of frozen. But yeah, a little bit slow here on Bitcoin on that failed auction. But I think we need to do a little bit of 4-hourly time frame analysis, guys, to see what we could be looking at. This movement to the downside for the moment is looking okay for it to slow down. It looks okay for it to slow down. Doesn't look extremely great for a major capitulation, even though, obviously when you are looking at the price that it's been pumping already for the last few weeks, it's kind of, pump and dump, right? Retrace all of the pump that we've had in the last few days. But the movement down, it is looking corrective. We do have some levels. CME gap is holding. The top of the gap is holding as support. Top of the gap is holding as support here. At least it's trying. We also had the bounce yesterday. The bounce yesterday was hitting the top of the gap with that naked point of control. The level where we could get a very strong bounce is this point of control with the gap fill. CME gap fill is literally where we have this point of control. There might be $100 or $200 of a difference where the gap is and the point of control. So this is just adding confluence. This was a very, very acceptable snipe along. Of course, you can only snipe these trades as you come down to the point of control in the top of the gap. If we were to come down aggressively, move down $1,000, maybe today, tomorrow, or whenever that happens, it's just a very, very good solid level for an internal day trade long. And the target would be pretty clear, would be coming to this cluster, right over there. So fill the gap at 90K, point of control, reaction, and this is your trade. Once you start coming into the level of support, you're looking for that resistance flip, possibly, which is inevitably your TP1 zone, right? It has to be your TP1 zone as you get to this consolidation area. So nice trade to put down here that could happen maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. If we do not SFP, of course, from one of the lows here successfully. Unfortunately, we don't have very, very high probability on this failed auction, unfortunately, based on the amount of bearish CVD diversions that we are getting at the moment. So the probabilities are decreasing for a successful recover, at least locally here. This data is important. You understand that longs are entering the market and longs maybe are going to get washed out here. Okay, so that's the situation at the moment. You don't want to see bearish CVD divergence when you are forming a failed auction, okay, because the trend is down. So that it just decreases the probabilities, right? Let's go through comment section as we get that like button. I'm going to go around the table as I have a drink of water. My Dubai. And we'll talk about the higher time frame. I think it's important to understand where we are at the higher time frame. This failed auction. We want to see power. We want to see a move up. Shorts, the only best level for joining into a lower high, at least for me here, is the VWAP. VWAP could be an interesting pivot here to form another lower high, maybe to claim the lows, but we're not stretching to that VWAP. So currently in no trade at the moment, guys. I'm currently in no trade, unfortunately. VWAP would have been nice. Tap just at the beginning of the stream, we were trading in this zone. Would have been nice to get that VWAP tap here with these lower highs. That would have been a good short execution for me to claim the lows. But yeah, not the case. Longs are not looking too great on this failed auction, purely based on the bearish CVD divergence, unfortunately. Too many longs entering here, which is not, it's not helping, of course, for that bounce. Anyway, let's go around the table and see how many likes we can get. If we can get to 300 likes, that would be absolutely awesome. And we're going to continue through the comment section and overall do higher time frame Bitcoin analysis. Pay attention to the gap fill, guys. Low of the gap, when it's filled, usually provides good support, and we got a naked point of control in that region from the price action of last Friday. Let me just go around the table, guys, and we'll do some analysis here on the higher time frame to basically discuss what projections and what movements we could have on the price of Bitcoin. Okay, let me go around the table. Stretch my legs. Getting old. This is the thing, when I'm sitting down here for a long time, you know, it does, you need to stand up, right? You need to stand up. Let's go through comment section. Shorts your shorts, baby. Absolute legend. C Marpy. Little bit of too shallow of a bounce here for me to jump into a short. This for me would have been my option. Tap VWAP, local SFP, test the lows would have been my short here. These shallow bounces, you know, not my cup of tea. What, right? Not my cup of tea, as a good British man would say. Baby G, maybe I'll visit the US in June for the World Cup. Oh, World Cup this year. Absolutely awesome. I love watching the World Cup. Retraced buy is in order now at the moving average bounce. Retraced buy in is in order now at the moving average bounce. Moving average bouncy bounce. CBK Wahoo. Where do you think we are in terms of the 4-hour trend A wave? Graham, absolutely awesome question. I think that's what we're going to do, of course. We're going to do a little bit of higher time frame right now, just because locally we don't have, not too great price actions. We want the gap to be filled. We don't want longs entering at the moment. We've got bearish CVDs, so the longs are not looking too interesting here at the failed auction. Too many longs entering, so you want shorts entering and you want the price pumping here very nicely as soon as you claim a low. The moment you start dancing around and getting longs entering the market, lower highs on price action, higher highs on CVD, it just ruins the party. So like cancelling the long position, not a nice long position. You want to go. You want to go. You want to take the lows, boom, 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 bullish market structure, but with shorts entering the market with bullish CVD divergence, right? You want lower lows on the CVD and higher lows on price action. Then we can pop, right? You're getting shorts entering at the lows here, but that's not the case. We're getting longs here, so it's not great, not helping. So on the 4-hourly time frame, where do I think we are currently at the moment? As we were discussing throughout the higher time frame last week or a few days ago, the probabilities of getting a breakout here, I know a lot of people were it's insane how the comment section gets extremely bullish on the momentum to the upside. And we were talking about the probabilities of actually breaking out on this rally to the upside, like in a wave 3, and pop out from here like explosively, was low probability. It wasn't looking too great, just purely based if we are believing that on the most bullish case scenario, then we'll go on through the other scenarios, which are just extending the range here, guys. I don't think we're going to go very far away for the next several weeks. I don't think we're going very far away on Bitcoin. Volatility, I think, is going to be relatively low if we consider these kind of big moves. I think we ain't going to get none of this, guys, for quite a bit, unfortunately. But it's going to be rangy. There's going to be levels. There's going to be opportunities for intraday setups, of course. But I don't think we're going to have a major big move when we're still going to be very corrective and very rangy, which is overall what we expected for the last few weeks. I don't see a major breakout to the upside or a major breakdown to the downside with this structure. So when we consider the most bullish case scenario, when we are forming the start of a bullish trend, right, for all of the bulls out there, right, and then we'll go through the bears, and I'll just say we are in a correction, guys, and we're very rangy. So it's going to be a bit of pumps and dumps and pumps in this range. We ain't going to see big moves of $10,000-$20,000, unfortunately, develop in this area, I think, for many weeks. There's opportunities, of course, which is more intraday. Fill the CME gap, look for a long, test a lower, point of control of this range, right? Get a little bounce yesterday. Today, you're not looking. We're testing the lows again, trying to create this failed auction, but there's lots of longs entering, which is not favoring the bounce, of course, in this zone, which means that there's a good chance that we're going to take out the lows again, potentially again one more time, and we'll see how that low is claimed, right? Could be interesting because there's going to be that moment where you get a big bounce, right, where you either test this higher low or you get to the naked point of control, which is also in confluence with the CME gap fill, right, which is interesting. One of these pivots, I think, needs to be analyzed very carefully, right? If you move down, you're looking for a recovery beneath the low. You want a significant rally. You don't want longs entering on that rally when you do take a look at CVD. You don't want to form high highs on the CVD locally, right? And that's just not the greatest sign, because you're getting people longing, of course, wanting to catch this double bottom, right? And obviously they're going to be, a lot of the times they're punished. We are downtrending today, and lots of wants to catch the lows for the reversal, which we like to do very much, of course. But when the information is not the nicest, then it just increases the probability to take out the low when you get bearish CVD divergence in this local downtrend of today. So as the lows could be tested, then it's obviously analyzing how that low is going to be tested, right? Do we get a good reaction bounce? We form some bullish CVDs. As we do recover, that's what we want to see to then get the big leg to the upside. And if we lose that major pivot, then the next interesting pivot that I would look for, obviously not being in any long trade in this zone, is getting to that point of control at $90,070, which is, in confluence after filling that CME gap, right? Which a lot of the times does provide support or resistance depending on where the gap is. Is it to the upside or to the downside, right? We have many examples here of the gaps that I just pointed out also yesterday, right? It's very interesting how after filling the gap, it actually provides, in this case, resistance. So you fill the gap, resistance. You fill the gap somewhere here. We had one here, right? Support. You fill the gap and you go. So gaps are good, regardless if you fill them today or next week. That they are good for support and resistance. And if you have another level of confluence, in this case, the naked point of control, then it's a good attempt long, at least a day trade long for sure. Regardless if it will turn into a swing long or not. It's just a good entry zone, good management. So yeah, anyway, I went forward to this for some reason. When we consider the higher time frame on the start of a bullish structure here, the problem is leading diagonal, not the highest probability, but this leading diagonal, instead of being a wave 1, it could also be a wave A, right? 5-wave structure, leading diagonal, wave A or wave 1. When we were considering throughout the last week about something bullish, this is the low of the correction here. So that has to be your wave 2, wave 1, wave 2. If we're looking at something bullish in this structure, I'm like, there's it's just looking extremely rangy, extremely correctivey. To speculate here on wave 2s, it's just a big fat mess. The probabilities are so low that you're going to pop out in a wave 3 here is just extremely low based on this information, not only the leading diagonal by its own, but all of this mess. There's a really nice triangle fitted here. So triangle is for me what's happened in this zone, which comes to the conclusion on the other scenarios that we do have, which is extending the range and different possibilities on how the price could, wick the highs, wick the lows. But overall continuing ranging, right? No major breakout or breakdown. Still continuing a larger range. And it seems like we aren't going to go anywhere because of the information that we have from the last few weeks. If we consider something bullish here, wave 1 and wave 2, you need to have a wave 1 and 2 somewhere in this zone. This movement to the upside is, it would have to be a contracting diagonal as well. Because there's no solid 5 waver, it would have to be a contracting diagonal on the lower time frame. Then all of this needs to be a sideways WXY. A triangle is not available for a wave 2. So this would have to be wave 1 and this wave 2. A triangle is not possible for wave 2. And regardless, your wave 2 here is a little bit long in time. I would say it's still in the time zone, so it would still be okay. But then this information that we had throughout the last few days is the main problem, where you would have to have, this is your wave 1 and this is a sideways WXY in a wave 2. So you've got wave 1, 2, and then your wave 1, 2 to then start building up your third wave. And the problem here was the stacked up 1-2s, which, there was a kind of a chance. There was a chance maybe that we could have popped out, but based on the information here, leading diagonal, this movement to the upside, another leading diagonal. I mean, there was a chance, but the probabilities weren't looking extremely great. So looking for either the SFP here or looking for another double top, which was also what I was in favor of as well. Claim the highs again and then get the movement down was more interesting here. Just realizing that breaking out is just not looking very, very sexy. The same here to the downside. Based on the information that we have today, it is looking very lucrative to see one of these pivots to actually hold on and get a bit of a relief, because rolling down from here, based on the information that we have from this local downtrend, that we will go forward here on the 15-minute time frame again. For anybody that didn't watch the beginning of the stream, it's just not looking very, very bearish. This movement down doesn't look very, very bearish to start a major impulse down, right? Even though, yes, we have liquidity, of course, down here at 86K. These higher lows are very, very disturbing. But it's interesting to see the levels of support if they do get reactions, to just jump into a trade if they do get the reaction, right? So anyway, the multiple 1-2s here, we obviously ended up moving down, breaking a little bit of this uptrend momentum, and that was the end of that, basically, to consider that we're going to have multiple 1-2s and breaking a wave 3 here. It was looking juicy. People were getting excited, but the excitement finished in the last 24, 48 hours with that rejection. So let's other scenarios when we consider this. So this right now is nothing, basically. We failed to form that third wave, which I was very much expecting that to not happen. When we take a look at the other scenarios, it is true that this could be a wave A still. This could be a wave A in that diagonal. All of this could be a WXY. This could be a WXY right there, where you have, this would be the complex correction right there, which we're not going to go into detail, but there is a triangle here which could finish the Y wave. So you have this move down, the bounce, and this sideways move. There could be a fitted WXY in the zone, which could be your wave B. And as we did take out the highs here, could it be an ABC movement that's finished? That is definitely an interesting scenario. Of course, it could actually be an ABC. I'm not sure if somebody was pointing this out, because we did take out the highs. It could be a zigzag 3-wave structure. Of course, looking at the higher time frame, this is just a 3-waver. And based on timing of this entire move down, which we are considering a 3-wave move down as well, this could be just a zigzag from a much larger corrective X wave, because this 3-wave down could be a wave W in a zigzag, and then now we only have a 3-wave structure to the upside. As this does look more three wavy, we're not considering this the wave 4. Could it still be the wave 4? I mean, it could still be the wave 4, I have to say. It could still be the wave 4, even though probabilities are lower at this point, just because of the extension in time compared to your wave 2, and hitting also the top of getting out of the channel, which is not very common to see. If you do put a channel here from wave 1 and wave 3 and the top of wave 2, then if you do I'm just going to put that channel just for the people so they see. But getting to the top of the channel is very, very unlikely for a wave 4. If you do get out of the top of the channel for a wave 4, you want to see wave 3 break the bottom of the channel, and then you get resistance at the bottom or the center of the channel. You don't get out of the channel, because that means that you're likely forming an individual wave. So as this could be an individual wave and not a wave 4, we consider this movement to the downside being a three-wave structure. As this three-wave structure to the downside, and now we've got three-wave that could be a zigzag as well. Could be a zigzag just because you did take out the highs. So you got a three-waver here. And this could give many, many options, because there's still a lot of time here to, if this is a zigzag, we could consider that being a wave W. There's nothing very bullish about this move, so we consider three wave or any other type of corrective structure that we're going to point out now. But a W here would be the scenario of this leg down from all-time high, and this could form all sorts. It could form a three-wave down and then maybe sweep up the lows, and then it could form another three-wave to the upside, and it turns out to be a double zigzag in a wave X. And then we form your wave Y later on throughout 2026, right? But still very, very rangy, not going anywhere. This could form a flat. It could form another zigzag down, take out 80K, maybe go to 70K. I think this coming into this area would be the ultimate swing short zone. 100 to 102K. We talked about this on yesterday's stream as well, with another combination of a correction, but it's literally the sweet spot. It's the equilibrium from the high to the low, 50% Fibonacci. You do have also the 50 weekly moving average, right, which is was the main topic of bear market confirmation. That's literally also at the 102K zone. And this movement to the upside, if it does manage to reach that area at some point, where we also have a naked point of control in that zone, which is from this consolidation at $102,000, it's just a very, very interesting zone, where the price, you got the round psychological number at 100K as well. You might hit, well, we will be analyzing that zone, but could be interesting to consider some swing shorts at that area, because I don't see any solid bullish structure in this zone in multiple 1-2s, to really fly from here. At some point, right? I don't see a major flying candlestick here on the weekly that takes us to, almost hitting all-time highs, right? So there's going to be some very interesting swing shorts for sure at some point if we do manage to reach this zone. That's if we do not take out the lows before, right? But yeah, if we do not take out these lows in the next coming weeks, and we manage to climb up to this 102K zone, it's going to be a very, very, very interesting level to look for swing shorts. We'll be talking about that, of course, but based on the information that we have here, this is more of a three-waver, and it looks like that we are forming a correction here. So the most attractive is W and a wave X, just because, yes, this could be an ABC, end of the correction, that's it. And we're looking for ultimate massive recovery, money print to go on 2026 in 2026, and we head up to all-time high. But the reality is no. The reality is the structure is not looking bullish enough on the bounce. The bounce is a bunch of crap. This bounce is BS to form anything very bullish. So the probabilities are low. Of course, nothing is impossible, but it's just not looking great. And no news event. The more bullish news we have, the more bearish it's going to be, guys. You know how this game works. Whatever happens on this combination of this correction, regardless if it's this one or other ones that we're going to talk about right now, and obviously this would still extend. This would be the start of a W, and then maybe a zigzag down or whatever structure, and another wave X, and then another wave Y to finish your ultimate wave X on the higher time frame. Wave X's can be a pain in the ass. They are very complex. They're very, it's just a pain, which we could have had one right over here as well. This B wave could have been a WXY, or a wave X, which I'm going to explain also now in the next coming minutes. But all of this was is absolute BS, right? What's this? What's all of this? You got a triangle here in the middle with a bunch of nonsense here. It's just a bunch of rubbish, right? No trend, just a range, very confusing. And we could be on the formation of the wave X of the higher time frame from this 3 wave down, and then just a wave X here that's going to be a bunch of moves up, move down, but ultimately ranging and not going anywhere, not having any direction. So yeah, I mean, just don't want to go to. It is a bit it is confusing, guys. It is confusing, all of this, but it's just understanding that the probabilities for the next coming weeks is not going literally anywhere, right? Literally not going anywhere in this zone. Based on the information that we have here. So I don't want to bore here with these scenarios, but I think it's just important to realize that it's just understanding that we're likely not going to go very far away for many weeks here on Bitcoin. Let's go. This was an interesting one. I think this would still be valid. This would still be a valid point as well, where your triangle here, you finish the triangle in your E wave inside of this larger triangle, and right now you're forming your wave Y, which the best scenario would be forming a zigzag to the upside. This would be the best scenario, regardless if it's from here to get to the 100k levels. I mean, this would be the best to look for swing shorts at 100k, 102k on that double zigzag here, which is very similar to another one. I would say this would be a valid count. There's also this one which is valid, which the only thing that changes here is instead of having that large triangle where you have W, triangle, and X, you literally have a WXY here where you have a flat, and then this being your wave X, which is very choppy. You had a WXY here, very messy structure, and then finishing in a triangle in your wave Y, which is also one of the scenarios that points out the same direction for the wave Y. Literally, that it could be either a zigzag to the upside. It could also be a flat, which actually comes down and sweeps up the lows first of all. If we were to move down aggressively throughout the next coming week or so, which I don't think is going to be the case, it would be interesting to look for longs after sweeping these lows. would be interesting. We'll go on the lower time frame, of course, as we go on the stream. But it's either a zigzag up here with the potential of getting to the 100, 102k. This would be very, very lucrative to short, guys. It would be very, very lucrative to look for short positions. If we do develop that in the next coming weeks. And obviously the flat would be interesting, depending on, you know, sweeping up these lows is an interesting SFP liquidity grab at 87k, 86k would be very, very interesting, of course, for swing longs. Again, consider swing longs here. And if not a triangle, could be on the formation as well here. Which would finish that WXY, and ultimately it would finish that wave W, wave X, and then we have the new formation in the wave Y here. So yeah, a little bit, it's very, very rangy, very, very choppy, but there's no major proper direction here. It seems like we're going to be dancing around here for many weeks, guys. We ain't gonna see this kind of volatility. Unlikely that we're gonna see some volatility here for quite a long time. And you might think it looks ready, right? It looks ready to actually make a big move, either down or either to the upside. It looks ready, right? It's been ranging already for many weeks, almost 2 months now. But it seems like it's going to be like that for a few more months, where we you know, it's just not going to pop out anywhere to the upside or to the downside. So I think it's going to be quite boring, guys. But there's obviously on the higher time frame, right? Regarding people that are looking for bigger movements of 20,000, 30,000, it seems like we ain't going to get any of that for quite a long time on Bitcoin, based on how the price is moving here and the information that we have. So just wanted to point out, there's no clarity of what exact pattern we are going to form. Of course, if we were to form that zigzag here throughout the next 1 to 2 weeks, shorts at the 100, 102k are going to be extremely interesting. I don't see this as anything massively bullish that we're going to absolutely moon here. You know, the price is likely going to reject in somewhere in this zone, which we could analyze once we get there, based on that WXY. You know, either this one or this one. But ultimately the zigzag is what looks interesting here. And this would be extremely interesting to short. So yeah, we're gonna, obviously we don't know exactly which one's gonna happen, but this is why we zoom in on the lower time frames. We consider confluence, CME gap, right? Sweep up the lows, sweep up the highs. Did we hit the lows? Almost hit the lows here. Yeah, there's bearish CVD divergence playing out, guys, right? Those longs entering the market just gently tapped the lows, gently tapped the lows here. Did we? Let me double check. We missed it by a hair. But yeah, those bearish CVDs not helping, of course, ruining the party for the bounce eventually. But this is where it becomes interesting for the bottom formations. Double bottoms, test the lows, bigger bounces. Is it this low? Is it this low? Is it getting to the naked point of control and filling the gap? Ultimately, you want the lows to be tested at this point. And as explained, these longs are interesting because of the way we've moved down here. The way that we've moved down is telling me that a big break down here is unlikely. It's unlikely because we've moved down in a 3-wave structure, very strong bounce. And the multiple 1-2s here have low probability because your second wave 1 compared to your first wave 1 is almost twice the length, and that is extremely uncommon to see. For your second wave 1 to be, the twice the length of your first wave 1, because this is a lower time frame wave 1, right? If this has to be a second wave 1 and 2, this would have to be a wave 3 getting developed, 4 and 5, and all of this is your wave 3. Literally all of this is your wave 3 getting developed. And yeah, just on its own from this wave 1 of this wave 3, it's just too long. Your biggest wave 1 needs to be the first one or similar in size. So it's just low probability, which is making me understand that a very big breakdown here has low probability based on the structure that we've developed. Of course, it's not 100%, but this is why we have levels ready. We have CME gap. Once it's filled, it could fill and go. You have this double bottom. Maybe the gap is not filled this week. Maybe it's filled next month, right? We've seen gaps that looks like they're going to get filled, and then they leave, and then they are filled later on, right? Next month. So this is why it's lucrative at this area to look for longs. And I have my strategy. I share what I would be looking at, and I'm interested in the double bottom just because I can manage risk. I'm interested in the CME gap because we have a naked point of control here, and we know what happened yesterday. It's a nice day trade long, this one. We got to the top of the gap, and we bounced very, very nicely yesterday with that naked point of control. So with that same theory, eventually filling the gap and coming down to the next naked point of control at 90k could also be a good bounce. Also understanding the structure to the downside that has low probability in breaking down successfully. So with all of that in mind and that combination of knowledge, I understand, it's actually interesting to look for longs at these levels of support. SFP, fill the gap, naked point of control. I understand that this structure is low probability, bearish multiple 1-2, and has a higher chance of being something corrective. Regardless if this is a zigzag down, you got your wave X, and now here you're going to form a running triangle, or you're going to form a flat or a double zigzag. Regardless of which one happens, I'm interested at specific levels of reaction, and that's basically how we come up to figure out the possibilities and the probabilities. I'm homeless now. I can go wherever I want. Man, that makes two of us. Oh no, I'm actually in home now. My man, I hope you're doing well, Mark Dutch. Marcos, I want to travel the west coast of Spain next year. The west coast, interesting. That's going more into Castilla-La Mancha, into depending on what sides of the west coast, but Galicia, northwest, Galicia, maybe. I've seen some weird gaps in my time. We know that. We love filling gaps, especially not the CME ones. Yeah, Bilbao, etc. Oh, Bilbao, amigo. El País Vasco. Let's go. Let's go here through the comment section, see what's going on. Just having a nice chat. The madman himself, he is the madman. I think you're talking about Mark Dutch. You see it more than I'm sure, but I have the lack of gratitude. Andy, we need that 97k. 97k to the upside, right? It's looking okay for this to be corrective, just remaining a little bit patient to hit the levels. We are getting we had some bearish CVD divergence throughout the stream. No major big volatility, unfortunately, throughout the stream today. No major big moves. Not much. We just came down to the low. Looked like it wanted to attempt a failed auction, but we were getting lots of longs entering the market, which need to be punished to maybe form another low, right? Very, very slow here throughout the last few hours, unfortunately, guys. But what can we say? What can we say? Much love to everybody. Let's go. Andy, please take a look at Chainlink. Woo! Where are you, Andy? I lived in Estepona. I am from Palma de Mallorca, but I am living in Dubai at the moment. Bilbao is in the north. Yeah, exactly. Bilbao is in the north. It's not in the west coast, actually, of Spain. West coast of Spain is more Portugal, but north. Yeah, Bilbao is at the north. Exactly. Al lado de Cantabria y Asturias. Let's hello, I'm from India. Andy, shout out to you. Much love. Let's take a look at Chainlink here for somebody in the comment section. Guys, if you are interested in trading Chainlink, Bitcoin, whatever, you got some great bonuses down below with Bluffin. Bluffin right now has changed its campaign. Get VIP 1, guys. You get VIP 1 instantly for 30 days. As soon as you sign up, this decreases your fees massively. And of course, you got the deposit bonus, and you do have also the more rewards. Trade and get up to 9,400, depending on how much volume you're moving. You're going to get airdrops to your account. Okay, so check out this with the link down below. And on Friday, I'm announcing the new product that we have that we've combined. I will be leaving my Telegram down below, okay, so you can join. Dylan has been absolutely crushing it with some altcoins lately. So there's altcoins, Bitcoin, daily analysis, which we've combined everything. VIP and everything is combined into one product right now, okay, with the different coaches, which will be announced on Friday, very likely, okay. We'll be leaving the Telegram and how you can access that. And of course, if you sign up with one of the links, you'll be getting a bonus because of that. You got BTCC, you got Bluffin, you got Velto, which is a decentralized platform. Velto has 0.02% taker fee, guys, which is extremely low. And it connects directly to your wallet, either Ledger, MetaMask, any wallets that you have. And you have full custody of your funds, which is absolutely awesome. Mi abuela viene de Mallorca. Saludos desde Argentina. Vámonos. Chai Pampa. Abuela de Mallorca. Habibi. Crypto by Mattia. Much love to you, my man. Here he is. We're playing tennis on Friday. Dude, we're going to do it. Where we long BTC, boss? I am looking at the lows to be taken again. Because we had some people believing that we are going to bounce from here when we do take a look at the delta. We've got several million longs entering right now. Well, not right now, in the last 1 to 2 hours. On some exchanges, we probably tested the lows already. But at least on Coinbase, we didn't. Maybe on some future exchanges, we did. We just barely scratched the lows here. On Bluffin, we did test the lows, I think, as well. Yeah, on some exchanges. So local double bottoms are looking interesting for the long. Or sweep up this low, this higher low. We've got a nice cluster here. This is a good SFP level. Probabilities of this being corrective are quite high. Okay, when you get a big impulsive move to the downside, you want continuation with shallow pullbacks for your wave 4. And that was not the case yesterday. We had a 3-wave down and we got an awesome bounce here, which is making all of this structure look very corrective, right? Compared to the momentum that we got to the upside. So, yeah, that's what we got. Double bottoms. We didn't quite test the bottom. Let me just double check here on another another exchange, another chart, Bybit US dollar. Yeah, there we go. We did form that double bottom on Bybit. This is the thing on some exchanges, right? You're looking for that local double bottom or test the lows. The main reason, obviously, this could go wherever it wants. The whole point is your entry and your risk to reward here. But double bottoms are interesting here. Unfortunately, we did not test it on Coinbase. So for me, it wasn't. We didn't get that sniper. Lows were missed here. But it's just it just gives you the good risk management trade, right? It's like, boop, stop loss now is invisible, right? It just doesn't. It's obviously we're downtrending. We don't know which is the one that is going to actually form a, break the downtrend, right? Which one will be the one that actually creates a higher high and then a higher low, right? Which movement will it be? This one? Will we test the lows again and test this higher low, or will this be the one? I used to do a lot of analysis on Bybit because Bybit US dollar pair is the best chart for SFPs. It is literally the best chart for SFPs. On Bybit, I've seen many charts not hit a high or a low, and the Bybit US dollar one never misses. It's incredible how Bybit is so good on the SFPs. On Bybit US dollar perpetual, we did hit the lows right there, and it's all about your entry, right? It's all about your entry and your stop loss. Yeah, I need to take more into consideration Bybit US dollar. I used to always analyze because I preferred the volume levels on Bybit US dollar a lot. And also for the SFPs. SFPs on Bybit US dollar, much more solid. And volume levels are also very, very good. Point of controls. Yeah, this might be the one that gets the bounce. Might be the one that gets the bounce and starts claiming some lower highs here. How come your accent is very British? His mum is from the Isle of Man. That is correct. Mark Dutch here. Isle of Man. Uncle Andy, can you please look for core? Look for core. Uncle sounds better than daddy. It does. It does. Can you please look for core? What is this? Core? What is this? Uncle Andy, BTC fall to 90k. Well, we do have that CME gap, right? I think this is the thing about the CME gap, right? You're waiting for the gap to be filled. We got the gap to be filled. The gap is still at lower prices. We just literally at the top of the gap, and we might not fill the gap. Who knows, right? This is the thing. Filling the gap provides that support. This is why, looking for either this double bottom, even though we might be getting some more bearish CVDs. But yeah, these pivots are interesting. This for an SFP is good. The local double bottom, if you were watching the Bybit chart, just for a good entry and good risk management, I have to say, on Bybit, we did take out the recent lows. Good double bottom just for a scalp. It just gives you such a great risk to reward and a good entry. Right, when we super good, and it's sensible to look for double bottoms here. As mentioned throughout the beginning of the stream, looking for double bottoms or looking for this low to be tested and the reaction at that low just to give you a good entry is sensible here, because of this three-wave down and bounce. We could be looking at a larger correction be forming here in the next 1 to 2 days, and the probabilities of nuking down doesn't mean that we cannot test the lows or actually fill the gap, which is not a significant move to the downside, but the probabilities of breaking down here to 87k, 86k is low probabilities. So looking for these bounces here, these reversals at these specific levels is very interesting. Local double bottom, because we had a bearish CVD locally, and get a bigger bounce eventually throughout the next 1 to 2 days is in favor at the moment for Bitcoin because of this movement down. I like the 3-hour chart used with Cypher B. Divergence for tighter entries and exit should see a nice buy signal possibly tomorrow. Also pay attention to the actual Fibonacci day, 8th, 13th and 21st. CBK coming in hot with his secrets. Yes, by the looks of things here with Market Cypher B. Market Cypher B. I know Jason Casper uses a lot of Market Cypher B. Money flow, right? The red diamonds and all of that good stuff. Anyway, what else can we take a look at here on Bitcoin? Really slow momentum. Maybe another lower high here. Revisit the lows. It's really been downtrending today. Today the short trade would have been nice to hit the VWAP. We missed it by $200. Would have been nice to just get that VWAP hit and SFP. Really, we did get a small little SFP of the highs today from these ones right over here. That was an acceptable entry short just to claim the lows, but basically these are day trade shorts. At some point, you know, you are going to get that bounce, right? You're going to get that larger bounce, and if you don't take profits on the shorts that you've been taken, you know, you're going to get out with no profits. So would I consider the VWAP at this point a good short if we hit it? I would not like this short on the VWAP at this moment. The main reason why today the VWAP tap was interesting for a short was when we did not claim this low. So we did not claim this low. And as you were so close and hitting this low, this was very three wavy to the upside. This movement up that we got on the bounce yesterday ended up very three wavy. And as you're so close, you did hit the 0.88 Fibonacci. The VWAP tap for a lower high today was very interesting to not only claim the local lows, but actually, you know, claim this low basically, right? Not only claim the local lows, but the lows of this of yesterday basically. So that would have been the short. As these lows have been tested already, the VWAP touch is not that interesting anymore because we've already tested the lows of yesterday, and a larger bounce is very much a possibility here. So we need to understand when the levels are interesting and when they're not, right? if you are so close to a low and the probabilities are high to take out the low, any bounces to levels of resistance, are very, very interesting, of course, to get into that short. But we missed it by about $150. Would have been nice to sweep up those highs, hit the VWAP, and then look for that trigger short, which was not the case. And now, local longs at double bottoms are looking more interesting, because I understand that a bigger relief could be on the formation. A bigger relief rally could be on the formation. You've tested the lows of yesterday. I know we have the gap. I know we have liquidity, but it's all about this structure. It's not looking very, very, very bearish to have a strong move down. We might get a bigger bounce and then move down maybe, tomorrow or in the next coming days. But getting the big move down from this point, it has lower probability, right? What can we say? So internal longs at the lows, double bottoms, this pivot higher low is just more interesting at this point than jumping into a short down here, as the lows of yesterday were already claimed. So that's, the target has been met. And if you already hit a target, shorting any bounces from here is just like, where are you targeting? Are you going to target the low again? It might hit the low again. I would be rather more interested understanding that a bigger bounce is happening here to look for the local double bottoms instead of a shorting down here as the lows have been tested. Not interested in shorting now the lower highs or the VWAP or any of that, because the business has finished at the lows here. We've tested the lows already, so probabilities are not that attractive for shorts here anymore, at least very locally, right? So Andy, come to Spain. I will be going back to Spain soon. Beth Maria Vallejos. I will be going back to Spain soon. Much love. Barcelona. Where in Spain are you, Beth Maria? En Barcelona, Mark Dutch. Cuidado con Mark Dutch. Be careful with Mark Dutch. He will get a flight to Barcelona. Beth Maria, be careful with this guy, because he'll be in your doorstep tomorrow morning, knocking on the door. Much love. Where are you now? Me or Beth Maria? I'm in Dubai. Yeah, I'm in Dubai at the moment, but I'm missing home a lot, missing Spain a lot. No, Bilbao next. Okay. Anyway, GTA long. Shall we take a look at some altcoins? Much love to everybody here. Thanks for being on the stream. Over 400 people, over 300 likes. We've got some levels. A little bit boring. Depending on what chart you're looking at, I would say that was an acceptable scalp long. Only moved about $500, but we've been moving not very much ever since we started the stream. That would have been your golden ticket here at the local double bottom, guys. We had bearish CVD divergence, so the longs were not looking too interesting here on the failed auction. Lots of higher highs on the CVD. You want to test the lows again. Actually, on the CVD chart, the lows were tested. So, yeah, the golden entry is the double bottom. And shorts are just not very attractive for me here for a scalp short to test the lows again. I have to say, if you're long, you want to take profits on these little bounces. I mean, it depends on if you're scalping or not, because the thing is, these double bottoms always give you the best risk to reward, always, right? Give or take, it doesn't have to be like super like, oh, look at this, what an awesome long. Well, why didn't you take it, right? Kind of thing. I mean, I was checking the Coinbase chart, but you get the point, right? It just gives you a good entry. This is already 2-3 to 1 risk reward. you can always scratch, run a free trade, and maybe it gets the massive rally. And understanding as well that the shorts are not looking attractive anymore, because you've tested the lows of yesterday, and a larger relief rally is very much a possibility. So double bottom is the name of the game here, and shorts are not looking too attractive for the moment. Oh, wow. Holy smokes. Paz Maria Viejos, much love to you. I only have eyes and heart for you, Andy. You're the best. Thank you for all your time and dedication in these long streams. I'm going to go all red now here. I'm going to go all red. Much love to you. Thanks for the kind words. Don't make me catch a flight and go there. Just had the full moon pump now, then winding dump. Yeah, of course he's reading out that loud. I had to, Mark. I had to. Come on. I had to. I would do the same. Much love to everybody. I got love for everybody here. Andy, please, what are the sites you use to check CBDs? aggr.trade is awesome because it's free. aggr.trade. Of course, you do need some templates. You can actually modify this yourself, but I know CoinGlass ExoChart also has CBD, but you need to do this manually to look at the different exchanges. This is the CBD divergence for Bybit only, so you'd have to flip-flop into either Bybit US dollar tether pair, or look at OKX or different other exchanges to take a look at the CBD. aggr.trade is free, and you can do the templates on the different exchanges combined. I got the white for lots of them, and then Bybit, I have the blue and the yellow. This is USDT perpetual and US dollar perpetual as well. aggr.trade. But yeah, there's many different templates. I do have several templates. I left this one here just because I like to see the 3 different ones. But you can put OKX, you can put all of them combined in just one CBD, which is this others right over here is a combination of Binance and OKX, many other different exchanges at the same time. So AGGR is great, but you need the templates. I'll be leaving the Telegram. I can share the templates with you. No problem at all. I'll be sharing the Telegram to share the new product as well from Friday, okay? 3 hour now. 3 hour now. What's on with 3 hour? Andy, so you have ExoChart from CoinGlass. No. Is it free or paid service? ExoChart is paid version, and also ExoChart you have the settings here. You can use all different things to put this how you want on ExoChart. You can put open interest, delta, footprint, all sorts here on ExoChart. There are many. I think there's lots of tutorials on YouTube as well on ExoChart, but you just put it how you want. But this one is about $30 a month, so it's maybe a little bit pricey, $30. But yeah, aggr.trade is for free. I'll just go with this option, and it just gives you the option of putting different exchanges here on these on the CBD, change them colors. It is a little bit complex, but I can share a few templates in the Telegram in the next few days. When I put the Telegram down below, I will be answering a lot of DMs. Andy learnt most from his mods, especially the dirty stuff. You're damn right, especially from you, my man, Mark Dutch. Much love. He's been the ultimate teacher. life, right? Not only of crypto and moderating and teacher of life, el profesor. Do we have some training session videos in our pro for EXO? Not for EXO chart on the pro, but I will do one. It's relatively simple because EXO chart leaves it super simple here to you have the point of controls, imbalances. You do have also how to put the delta cluster. I think there is, I think Crypto Ball or someone, is it Crypto Ball? I remember seeing this tutorial a few years ago on YouTube. I know Chart Champions also has tutorial, but that's obviously paid. But on YouTube, I'm sure there is a free. I think it's Crypto Bull or someone. That's from many years ago. I think at least 5 years ago, where there is a tutorial on EXO chart. The nutty professor, el profesor. But yeah, I need to create an EXO chart tutorial, of course. Wouldn't mind to do it on YouTube for free, but I'm not sure if people would be interested in that. Thank you, my man, for answering. Thomas, much love. Andy, you are a good role model. Never changed. Been with you since 2019. Much love, Bull Horse. Much love. People said there was no action in alts, but many people made millions on meme coins in this cycle. Yes. Yes and no. The percentage is very, very low. The percentage is very, very low for sure. That is for sure. I didn't make a huge amount with altcoins. I can tell you that. Yes, with Bitcoin, with trading, not done too bad. But regarding holdings, not that great. Mainly Bitcoin's been the biggest winner, just because it's where I had most of my net worth. It was Bitcoin, of course. That's why Bitcoin has been the winner for me in this cycle. Anyway, legends, much love to everybody. Okay, thanks for joining the stream. We really kept this live stream at the end, last hour, just chit chatting here. Much love to everybody. I think more people lost millions, but okay. Yeah, that's the thing. Andy is Zorro. El Zorro. Yeah, not sure where Beth Maria is right now. She's gone all silent. Is this RSI reset a good thing for the bulls or not? RSI reset. Not sure. I'm not looking at RSI. Hey, Andy, I am listening you 3 months. You are great in your job in Elliott Wave. Much love. Thank you very much for the kind words. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining here. Unfortunately, this was a double bottom that, was only tested on some future exchanges, possibly. I know on Bybit, it is interesting to look for a little bit of a larger bounce from here. The probabilities of moving down aggressively with this price action, as explained, was very, very low. Probability still is. If we were to come back down to test the lows in the next 1 to 2 hours, I would consider these pivots as guidelines. These guidelines, these local double bottoms, give you incredible great entries and extreme good risk management, and that is what we need in our trading, guys. Good risk management. Sometimes it's very hard to get to that risk management, being a boss at risk management, and these SFPs are actually very, very good. The structure here is not very, very bearish to get a wave 3 here or big breakdown. We could always be wrong, of course. We just need to be aware of the risk management. But that is a decent SFP. This local double bottom would have given you the greatest entry and good risk management. Scratch some profits, run a free trade. If we lose this low and lose this low, then eventually CME gap, guys, with that naked point of control is an attractive level to get a significant bounce. We have it at $90,000. That's coming in here also, where we have the CME gap, guys. If the CME gap is filled, they usually provide support. We got a naked point of control also in that region, the lows of the gap. could provide a significant bounce. I would instantly take some profit, treat it as an SFP, right? You hit the point of control and then you get back above it, right? Treat it as a reactionary level, just like the point of control with the top of the gap that we had yesterday. It's a reactionary trade. You tap it and you enter your stop loss, you move up, you're defensive, collect some profits. This is the same scenario here if we were to come down there, if we do break out the local lows. Okay, local lows are acceptable still for those entries and those bounces to scratch some dollars off the market. No major big moves that I have. We just need to trade the levels, get into some intraday setups, guys, manage risk. Thank you very much for joining. Remember, if you want to trade, you're not trading already, you do have a lot of exchanges down below in the description. Bluff in with those massive rewards and VIP1 as soon as you sign up for 30 days, guys. Anybody that's not using Bluffin, now is your chance to get 30 days of extremely low fees. And you also have Velto if you don't want to use centralized exchanges. Velto is a great decentralized platform, highly liquid, and you just use your wallet basically. There's a quick little tutorial as soon as you click the link, guys, and they have the lowest fees out there, which is awesome. You can connect your Ledger, MetaMask, Trust Wallet, any of your wallets that you use, and there's no middleman. You have full custody of your funds there. Thank you very much for joining today's stream. I will be back tomorrow with more. Trade safe, stay safe. Much love to everybody, and I will see you tomorrow.